What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 202 of the Tastecast, our weekly podcast where we talk about all things gaming. My name's Seth, and joining me today is Chevy. Of course, on my left, your right. Chevy, how you doing? Are you ready to talk about all the big news of the Xbox? That's going to be the biggest thing of this episode. And, yeah, how you doing?
Doing okay. Curious to see how much input I might actually have regarding Xbox, but we'll see. Yeah. Doing pretty good, though. We just watched Delicious in Dungeon, which definitely was a lot of fun. You can check that out at
Episode 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The other way, yeah. Pretty good. You?
I'm good. And for anybody curious, we do over on Tasty Flicks regularly reviews of anime episodes. Right now we're watching Solo Leveling and Delicious in Dungeon. So if you are also watching those, or you're curious about them, or you're looking to maybe start watching them, we are watching them as they come out and reviewing them. So just a quick reminder in case you don't know or have forgot that we are doing that. Also, we're open to suggestions if there's an anime you guys would like us to watch. I'm good. I got, on a personal note, I got some sleep last night, which for a while now has been kind of rare for me. So I feel more mentally alert than I have in a while. So that's hopefully going to be beneficial for this episode. I am excited for this episode, though, because for a while now, for a week, we have been, or at least I have been, with a lot of people, like over on TikTok and other places, discussing the cryptic message from Phil Spencer and the rumors regarding Xbox and what they'll be doing moving forward. So it'll be cool to finally get the facts and be able to discuss it. Spoiler alert for me, I have read already what basically was confirmed with this. So this won't be a reaction for me. It'll be a confirmation, but for you, possibly it'll be more of a brand new info.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I haven't watched the podcast, so I don't know what was said. And I think it'll be important to hear it from their mouths and how they word it, because I'll be able to get more from that. But I do know basically all the big announcements from it. But I think it'll be an interesting thing to watch and an interesting thing to talk about, because it obviously is an update on the business of Xbox, but also I think will be kind of important in terms of gaming as an ecosystem, because they're one of the big three, and whatever they decide to do could affect everybody else. So I think it'll be interesting and cool to talk about. But yeah, I am ready to talk about all the things that we got to talk about in this episode. So we should probably just jump into that with the first thing, which is game releases. We're going to be discussing what's coming out in February, what has come out in February, and what we're excited to play and what we potentially might want to avoid. So let's jump into that. This is via thegamer.com. So if there's any errors on this list, anything missing from this list, it is their fault, not mine. And let's just jump into it. So on February 1st, we got Grand Blue Fantasy Relink on PS4, PS5, PC. Then on February 2nd, we got Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. February 2nd, we got Persona 3 Reload on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PC. On the 2nd as well, we got Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash. I didn't realize that came out. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Then on the 6th, we got Foam Stars, which is out on PlayStation Plus. Make sure to play that so we can talk about the end of the month. On PS4 and PS5. Interesting to see it on PS4. Helldivers 2 came out February 8th on PS5 and PC and has been talked about ever since. February 12th, Spell Rogue Early Access on PC. Don't know what that is. On the 13th, we got Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Then on the 13th as well, we got Ultros on PS4, PS5, PC. Then on the 14th, we got Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Then we got Played Up on the 15th, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch. Then we got Hellskate Early Access on PC, February 15th. Then on the 16th, we got Mario vs. Donkey Kong on the Switch. And then on the 16th as well, we got The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3, Trails of Cold Steel 4 on PS5. That must be like a re-release or a collection or a port or something.
I think it's a re-release, yeah.
It makes sense. February 16th, Skull and Bones comes out on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC, which would kind of explain why that beta just happened. I didn't realize it was releasing. Interesting. Then on the 20th, we got the Lost Legends of Redwall Scout Anthology, PS5, Xbox Series, PC. Then on the 20th as well, we got the Lost Legends of Redwall Feast and Friends on PC. February 22nd, we got Nightingale on PC. February 22nd as well, we got Garden Life and A Cozy Simulator. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Everything. 22nd as well, we got Open Roads, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Then also 22nd, King Arthur, Knight's Tale, PS5, Xbox Series. And then the last one on the 22nd is Pacific Drive, PS5, and PC. I realized that was also coming out this month. February is the month. 23rd, we got Sons of the Forest. I think that's the 1.0 release on PC. And then Destiny 2, The Final Shape comes out on the 27th. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, and PC. What is that? Pixel? Pixel? Oh, I guess that makes sense. Pixel Cross, Story of Seasons, Switch, and PC. And then we got Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster on the 28th. PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC. Then on the 28th, we got Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons Remake, PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Then we got on the 29th, the big one, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on PS5. And then the last game of February will be on the 29th as well, which is Paradise Project on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. Chevy, what games have you picked up, and what games do you plan on picking up?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I'm planning on picking up Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. It was a little bumpy at launch on PC, but ever since then, I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I would like to play it.
Apparently there's a demo, or at least there's a demo on PlayStation because Sarah was playing it.
There was a demo on PlayStation.
Okay.
I had downloaded it, but I didn't play it. I'm just going to pick it up.
I think I'm just going to buy it too. Yeah.
I've heard enough good things at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not picking up Suicide Squad. It has gotten the opposite response.
It has got terrible reviews and response.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Which is crazy.
And everybody this month, every time someone releases a game like recently, everybody keeps comparing it to Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's like a punching bag.
Yeah.
That's something you say it has so far, is it's being used as a punching bag.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Especially coming from Rocksteady, which is really sad to see.
A game that's also been getting a lot of praise that I would like to pick up, Persona 3 Reload. I've heard nothing but good about that one as well. I need to pick that up as well. Where I'm going to find time for all these role-playing games, who knows?
It's impossible.
Then heading back the other direction, I will not be picking up JJK Cursed Clash because apparently that game is also very hated, and someone today celebrated it. It had 0 active players on Steam at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
I don't know. Foam Stars, I've played a little bit. We'll get into that, obviously, as much as I can. But yeah, everyone got that if you have PlayStation Plus. Helldivers 2 picked up. More to come conversation-wise on that also coming up. God, this month is busy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I will not be picking up the quadruple A game Skulls and Bones because I have no interest in it. God, it's so dorky.
Yeah.
A little bit interested in Nightingale. I think I have it wish listed. I'll wait for it to come out and get some feedback. I'm also curious to see what you'll have to say about Pacific Drive.
I had somebody on TikTok at me on, I think their TikTok for Pacific Drive. They're like, hey, I think you'll like this game. And I was like, you know what? You're 100% correct. I've been looking forward to this game. So, yeah. I think it looks cool.
And then I think the obvious one is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a no-duh for me. So, yeah. Busy month.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping we'd have a couple months before we had to start diving into stuff, and guess not. Yeah, I also want to pick up Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. The only reason I haven't bought this yet is because I am currently playing some stuff that we'll go over here in a little bit, but one of the games I'm playing is like an investment game, and I was like, I can't keep piling things on. Also worth mentioning, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor came out in early access. It's not on this list, and I picked that up too. And of course, I have to pick that up and play it. But I was just like, man, I'm buying too many games again. Like I gotta not do that. So, Grand Blue Fantasy, I probably will be buying soon. But I'm a little worried about that. But it looks cool. I actually didn't even know it existed. Well, I knew it existed, but I didn't know what kind of game it was. Then you told me, I was like, wait. And since you told me, and I looked at and wishlisted it, reviews went from mixed because of some issues to checking it not that long ago. They had all gone up.
Yeah.
So I think they've patched it.
Yeah, it had performance issues on PC when it came out.
Yeah. So, yeah. I was curious about Suicide Squad before it came out, and then it came out, and I just, across the board, whether it's game journalists to YouTubers to just actual people, everyone seems dissatisfied with Suicide Squad. I know Josh is playing it. He asked me if I was going to pick it up, and I was like, fuck no. But if you play it and you end up liking it enough to suggest it to me, I would maybe reconsider. But that's going to be a hard sell because I already was kind of worried about it, and now everybody's saying bad things about it. So, but I do trust Josh's opinion over most people's when it comes to gaming. So I would consider it, but he's playing it, so I'll have to have him update me on it. I am curious about Persona 3 Reload, but I probably won't pick it up anytime soon because I know it's going to be like a 100-hour game. But from what I've seen, it's very impressive looking, especially when you see it side by side to the other or the original game.
Yeah,
it's a huge difference
for sure.
I didn't realize how much of a difference that was going to be. But
it's a PS2 game, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago it came out. I just didn't realize it was going to be like a remake. I thought for some reason it was like a remaster.
I'm glad they did because they like were real like weird about even bringing that game out because like they brought 4 back out at one point and everyone was like, "Where's 3? Where's 3?"
Yeah, back when it first came out though, I think it was a little more controversial than it would be now. But because it's just like the whole gun thing. But it's like that's it. The rest of it's like whatever. Especially if you've played any of the Personas now, like it just seems pretty on brand. So yeah, really curious about that. It looks great, and it's been getting like insane reviews. Foam Stars, I did pick up technically, and I'm playing, so that's where we're at. Helldivers 2, of course, I picked up. I've been hyped on that game ever since they announced it, and yeah, we'll talk about it. But definitely have played that. I am kind of curious about Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. Ever since I saw it, I thought it looked kind of cool. I've listened to a couple reviews of it, and people are saying that like it's got some cool stuff going on, but also some stuff that's not that great. So probably wait a little longer to figure out if I want to pick that up or not. But it's also Don't Nod, and you either love Don't Nod or you don't. And I definitely don't love Don't Nod. So yeah, although I would like to see them make other things that I could possibly like, so I haven't written them off, and this could be a cool game, so I don't know. Kind of curious about Tomb Raider Remastered 1 through 3. I've seen some of the gameplay of that, and it's pretty impressive what they've done with such old and dated graphics, but also I'm hearing a lot of bad things about it too, so I don't know. Skull and Bones, I didn't play the beta. I should have played the beta because buying a quadruple A game blindly is something I've never done before. So
who has?
So I don't know if I want to dive into something that glorious blindly. But I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard people complaining about it who are complaining about that you couldn't leave your boat, and they're still complaining about that. So that's never been a big issue for me. So if that's the only issue people have with it, I could maybe still like it. I've also heard people say it's a fairly unremarkable game because it feels just like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which is a good and bad thing in my opinion, because it's good because people love that. It's bad because the game's old. So it's like
they took a feature out of a game and slapped $70 on it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm mixed on it. Let me know in the comments. Did you guys play the beta? What'd you guys think of it? Another beta I missed that I'm kind of happy about missing, honestly, is Nightingale, because I do just want to pick it up and play it. But playing the beta, I think, would have been a good way to kind of get an idea of if I like the game or not, but I know that beta was a stress test, and they also had like a predetermined setting that you started in where you had all this equipment and stuff. And last time I played a game where you just had a bunch of equipment, I played the game later and it kind of felt weird to start from the beginning, have to work towards things when in the beta they just gave you everything. I kind of don't like that like peek behind the curtain type of beta, so I'm kind of glad I skipped it. But yeah, I've been hearing good things about it, so I will be picking that up for sure. Let's see. I want to pick up Pacific Drive. I think it sounds cool. It's a roguelite that is in a car, so that's kind of an interesting evolution of the genre that I think looks pretty cool. So yeah, Sons of the Forest I would like to revisit. I already own it, but it coming out in 1.0 is pretty exciting. They're also adding some things, so that's good to see. And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I will pick that up at some point. I have to wait, though. I won't just buy it now because I haven't beaten the original remake, so it'd be a hard thing for me to do, to buy this and not be able to play it. So I'm going to wait, but I will pick it up later because, yeah, I really want to play it. It looks better than remake, so yeah. My strategy, though, moving forward is I'm going to buy Remake on PC because I think I will have a better chance of beating it because I already beat another JRPG I'll be talking about here in a little bit. And so it's a lot easier for me to do on PC since I'm typically here when I play my games the most.
So it also buy you some time to pick it up on PC when it finally releases on PC as well. So
yeah, true. Unless I end up beating Remake and I have to play it, I'll just pick it up on both. But yeah. Anything else?
The only thing I think of, I believe there are some summons that you get from Final Fantasy VII from pre-ordering and having a save file. So, just some things to throw out there. Though, if I were a betting man, they'll probably come out later for people as well. So,
gotcha. All right, nothing. Let us know in the comments what games are you guys looking forward to picking up in February. What games have you already picked up? And any games that were not mentioned on this list, let us know. Did you play Skull and Bones? Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. And yeah, all right. So let's jump into what we've been playing. We're talking about the games we've been playing in the last week or two. Chevy, how about you start us off?
Okay, it'll be pretty short, to be honest. Played Roller Drum a little bit. Can't really talk about it. Obviously, it's a Plus game. But
yeah, our games for Plus Club are Foam Stars, Roller Drum, and Steel Rising. So make sure to play those games. Come back in a month for Plus Club. We'll discuss them.
I also played a little bit of Foam Stars, though I need to play a little bit more because I've effectively played the tutorial of that game. So I need to actually play it.
I also played the tutorial, and then I tried to join a match, and I waited like 5 minutes, and then it was like disconnected. I was like, all right, I'll come back later.
Yeah. It might be a game to try during peak hours for NA at that point. But let's see. I have played a little bit of Temtem, which is a game of the month. Can't talk about that either. I have been pretty much nonstop playing Monster Hunter World still. It has become my comfort game. Come home, I do a couple hunts, and I go to bed. I am closing in on Master Rank. Oh God, I forgot. Can't remember. The last big fight I did, though, is, and I'm going to butcher his name. I butcher all their names, so if that bothers you, plug your ears or something. But starts with a B, but he's like the big dude with the explodey fists and forehead. And it's the special version of him where he's like ginormous, and then you get to the last part of the fight and you get trapped in a room with him, and if you leave the room you can't go back in and finish the fight, so you have to like win at that point, which is a very annoying mechanic. He also covers like 70% of the floor in explosives, which is also extremely obnoxious. I hated that fight. If I don't have to repeat it, it'd be amazing, so we'll see. And then I also need to do the variant of Rajang, which I'm not looking forward to because I don't like that fight either. So we'll see. yeah, but other than that, just kind of hanging out in the Guiding Lands, trying to level it up a little bit, get some more Elder Dragon fights in, unlock more cosmetics and stuff. So it's been fun. Game is got a very good end game. I think it's going to be hard to compete with in future games, but if anyone could do it, it's Capcom right now. So
True.
um
See their did that survey?
yes, I filled it out.
Yeah, I pretty much only, not to change the subject completely,
Fine.
but it asks like what games do you like to see more of? Do you want to see more remakes? Do you want to see more original IP, sequels? I think the biggest thing I try to emphasize is I was like, I want more Lost Planet because either or not because either I would want a remake of the ones that already existed, or some kind of sequel. But then I think at 1.2 I said that they need to do something with Onimusha because it's confusing that they haven't.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting survey because like I think they know they're on a roll, and so I think they're getting a lot of feedback, and I don't know how well. Oh God, what's the dinosaur game?
Exoprimal.
I don't know why you remembered that twice now, and I forget that name because I played it really like quite a bit, and while in the beta, and you didn't touch it. I don't think that game did too well. Maybe on Game Pass.
I heard the Monster Hunter event was really good recently.
There was a Monster Hunter event.
Yeah, you could fight Rathlos.
Oh, that makes sense. But with a game like that, I don't know if it did well or not. So hopefully it did. But if it didn't, that would be an interesting contrast with the rest of their games that I think are all doing very well. So it's kind of cool to see that they're trying to be connected with the people who are basically celebrating their games right now. Like some people will get that success and be like, okay, we know what we're doing. Let's just keep rolling with what we've been doing. But it seems like they're trying to be like, all right, we got a good thing going here. Let's try and keep that momentum going. So it was an interesting survey to take. It seemed pretty self-aware.
I had also filled out and I had told them that I would like to see Lost Planet, but I also told them I'd like to see Breath of Fire because that series has been dead for a long time.
One thing I didn't mention at all was Monster Hunter. There's a couple times where I asked, like, what do you want to see more of? And I didn't click Monster Hunter because I was like, we got a new one coming. So I don't want to give you that info when I know you're already bringing one out.
They don't need the feed, but this is the highest selling game they've ever made.
I know. But they had it on there. And as my feedback for their survey, I was like, don't focus on another Monster Hunter just yet because you already have one down the pipeline. Think about possibly ones games you're not working on right now.
Yeah, and then another thing too is like with the feedback of like what kind of projects you'd like to see, and I did say I avoided sequels. I said either I would like to see some older games like brought back or new IPs because I think it's important even if they fail to try new things. Otherwise, we're just going to play the same stuff over and over and over again.
Sure.
So I'd like to see that even if Exoprimal, I don't know how it did or how it's doing or whatever, but I applaud them for even doing it. So
it's pretty fun. I think I just didn't pick it up because like it was pretty fun, and there's like a lot of games out there that like I want to play or wanted to play at the time. So
yeah, I feel like it's a really like niche type of audience that's going to be into that game though. So
I think I could also see like the game was going to lack longevity for me personally, so investing in it right now didn't make sense unless I had like a bunch of friends playing it or something.
Well, I think that's tricky now anyways, because even like we brought it up before, but like the finals like is struggling to have people play it right now and stuff. So it's
I mean, I've hopped back in for the events. So they've had they had an event, I forgot what it was called, but you end up unlocking an outfit that you can't get otherwise. Like there's a helmet that I've never seen in the game. So I came back for that, and they have a Valentine's event right now that I want to play.
They also obviously took some feedback because I saw the patch notes and like EXP gains are like way easier now, I guess.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Huh.
So anyways.
Yeah, hopefully they can do whatever they can to make the game exciting again. I think the biggest thing they need to do is they need to back off of their monetization policy because I've already done the everything you can do in that game basically, and now I can either keep playing for fun, which I am doing, or spend more money. And I'm like, that's not exciting. I'd rather be grinding and playing the game to unlock more shit, not playing the game and when I get paid, put more money into it. That's not fun. But we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But it is a good point.
Yeah. Oh, right. Capcom survey, blah, blah, blah. And then what did I play? I had it and I lost it.
I know one game you've played.
Oh, Helldivers. That was the one I forgot. Picked up and played some Helldivers. I have not played a lot, so that is a hard game for me to play unless other people are playing. Excuse me. But the little bit I played, I enjoyed. Asterisk. It's also a game that can be very frustrating. So if I'm not in the right mindset, it's not the right game for me to play. But when it's going good, I love it because it definitely rewards team play like a lot, and it feels good when you get that going. I also just think combat in general in that game just feels good.
Oh yeah, dude.
And the
Feels
situations
great.
that happen are fun and exciting, even when you're like, it's frustrating in the moment, but you can look back on it in hindsight and just like how ridiculous that situation was you were in, and you kind of laugh about it type of thing. So I don't know. I really like it. I also love that people are loving it to the point where like I saw you post that they're hiring staff for the
More
game,
people.
to work on it some more. I also think it's Sony's biggest first party PC port now.
Yep.
It sold, I think, over 1 million copies on PC or something like that.
I think it's also the first time they released at the same time as one of the other games,
and has crossplay.
or one of their games on PlayStation.
Imagine that.
Yep.
I'm looking at you, Monster Hunter Wilds.
I legit feel bad for people on Xbox because the game is awesome. It looks awesome. It's kind of undeniable, and I just have so many people like asking, like, is this coming out to Xbox? I'm just like, probably not.
Not unless Sony decides to be nice, which they said something recently that makes me wonder if this is just going to be the state of gaming soon, but they seem to be relaxing a little bit. We'll see. So.
Yeah, I just with people going like, oh, I can't wait for this to come out for Xbox. I'm like, well, it's not really a Sony thing typically. So
Sounds pretty. This is mine.
Yeah, I wouldn't rely on waiting for it.
Yeah. So if you have a computer, I'd pick it up that way at that point. Or
I guess it runs on Steam Deck at 60 frames per second, which is pretty fucking crazy. So if you have a Steam Deck or thinking about picking one up, this would be a good reason to buy one because it runs on there.
yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because it's not a bad looking game.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. I don't think I have a lot more to say about it though, because I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen 1 million clips by now. So
I've seen too many clips. I'm so excited and happy that people are like loving it because I'm loving it too.
so much democracy giving out there. So
I just yeah, for sure. I just love the first game so much, and like I remember trying to get people to play that, but because it's top down, a lot of people didn't want to play it. And now people are like talking about a lot of the features, and I'm like, that was in the first game. Like, but it's still cool because like I knew early on, like when I saw they were going third person, I'm like, that's going to open the game up for so many more people. To the point where I saw, I think earlier today, somebody's like, dude, I love this game's in third person now because like it was just like the right direction to go, and like I wasn't really into the first one too much when I tried it. This kind of changed everything, and I'm like, yeah, that makes complete sense. I think more people are more inclined to play a third person shooter as opposed to a top-down twin stick shooter type game. So
yeah, if they keep supporting it, I'm sure people would keep playing it for sure. So
yeah. Well, it seems like that's the plan.
I'll say the formula is like simple and to the point, which is I mean, the main focus is just like the fun aspect. I also like how there is basically this little community aspect of like, what was the last planet that when I was playing that we were trying to help take? I can't remember. Anyways, what I remember seeing on Twitter, they were like, we brought democracy to blah blah blah. It's ours now, and like I was just like laughing about it. I was like, it's so funny that that's just like a community thing, basically. So
another thing too, I saw, I think earlier today, is it was like 50,000 people on, I forgot what planet name it was, and then they're like, and only 5,000 people on this planet, and then they show like it's the robot planet. So like a lot of people are just not playing the robot planet, whether they don't want to or they don't really know that you can just scroll down to the red area, and there's a whole other biome and enemy type there. So it's kind of interesting. It's fun. It's very different because they shoot back. So
yeah, I feel like when people have more tools, though I'm sure there are people who have all of them at this point, but
within the first couple of days, people hit 20.
But it'd probably be more appealing with the ability to defend yourself.
Yeah, better. it's just different feeling, and they've already said they're going to introduce more planets, more enemy types.
That's good.
So they
we already know we're getting mechs for free.
Yep, so. Which makes sense because the original game had the mechs. So I already expected it, but that they're adding it later, I'm okay with. Yeah, they have a whole. They don't have any hard details on roadmap yet, but they do have a bunch of things they hint at, saying they want to add new equipment, new stratagems, new planets, new enemy types. The mechs are coming. There was also vehicles in the original game where somebody could drive, a bunch of people could get in the back. So I expect to see stuff like that in this, although the terrain is a lot crazier in this game than the original game. I think they could still do it for sure, especially if they're going to be adding mechs. I hope they find some stuff to be as interesting as mechs, though, because I remember in the first game, everybody who had the mech unlocked just used the mechs. And the mechs are dope, but it'd be cool to have equipment that is just as exciting to use than just the mechs, because then it just becomes like a mech game. But yeah, they definitely have plans moving forward. They're hiring more people to work on the game, which is a very good sign. I believe Power World also did the same thing. So both games are like breakout successes to the point where the dev and the publisher is like,
help.
Let's hire more people because people are really into this and we got to support it. So,
which is great to see. Not to bring up a sad subject, but obviously in the state of like game devs right now, there's more layoffs than there's hiring happening right now. So
yeah, growth is not what you would predict right now in gaming. Yeah. So it is a good thing to see for sure. Because layoffs are happening. It
also shows if you just make a fun game, people will buy it.
Yeah, people are talking about Helldivers right now like it's like a revolutionary game, and I'm like, it's not revolutionary. It's just solid. Like it's a fucking really good shooter. It's really good co-op. It's got crossplay. It's got dynamic stuff happening constantly to keep things random and varied. It's got
between like that, Lethal Company, Power World, like no one cares about graphics, guys. Like just make good games. So.
Yep. Although I'd argue Helldivers is a really gorgeous looking game.
It is.
It's just not the best technically in graphics, but they're really doing some neat stuff with that game because the visuals sometimes I'll like stop and take it in, and I'm not the only one because I made a video about the details of it, and that seemed to really resonate with people because a lot of people like were watching and going like, oh dude, if you do this happens. Like there's all these little details in the game, like there's really like an attention to detail in that game that's really crazy. And then there's all these videos too I keep seeing of people just like, and pictures of people just taking screenshots or videos of like the landscapes and the environments and stuff. So it's a really, as I said, deceptively good looking game because if you look at it up close, it's not on a technical level super amazing looking, but kind of like what Nintendo does. They're really just like utilizing everything they got to make this game look gorgeous.
Style trumps graphics, in my opinion.
Sure.
So graphics are great, don't get me wrong, but also like I can look at a game that just has a good style and appreciate that just as much. The part that I get lost on is when things have a lack of style and a lack of graphics. When it just looks like, I don't know if there are any games in the bus, but we'll just say the cartoony Play-Doh look that a lot of games like to do because it's cheap and easy to do. I hate that. So,
and the opposite spectrum, style and graphics, which would be Alan Wake 2. Because that game is technically great and it's visually amazing.
We're also in this weird time too where like, games were recently bumped up to 70, which I mean, we can have the discussion on what they should cost. But now you got these big companies coming out making these weird claims about how many A's you should have in your title, but also like how much games should be and how much they want to keep increasing the price and stuff like that. And you're seeing consumers kind of fight back against that, and then they're buying these $30 games. I don't know how much Helldivers is, but I think Lethal Company is
Helldivers is 40.
So we $30 and $40 games, and these games are blowing up. So it's kind of like, oh, we don't need your $70 to $100 games, man.
They have both been put up against Suicide Squad constantly, going, this is a $70 AAA game, and more people are playing this $30 and $40 game, which, of course, you can make the argument they're cheaper games. Of course, more people are playing them. It's not that simple because people are playing them and staying with them. The gameplay is what matters.
Yeah.
Nobody wants the rinse and repeat, gameplay loop of just killing things constantly and getting better stats on the same loot. People want, these experiences that they can have with their friends.
Or by themselves or whatever, right? Like they just, you want to feel like you got something when you spend money, man. And so,
especially now.
Yeah.
Spending money now is something a lot of people have to like think about.
Sure.
And so you want that bang for your buck. And we are getting these lower bang, bigger buck games that are just going to be more valuable to people because they're spending less and getting more than if they gambled and spent more and got less. Like it sounds really basic, but like it's really what it is. It's kind of crazy.
Also, side note for another game that's a awesome game that's gotten a lot of support. The Endlessly, the new No Man's Sky update's coming out, and it's going to be free to play after this. So if you haven't played that game for some reason,
it's going to be free to play.
They're going to make it free. So
that's fucking.
Unless I'm mistaken, but when I was reading the little bullet points he likes to put on Twitter, the first one was like free access or free to play or something like that. So.
Are they talking about that the DLC is going to be free or the game itself? I'll have to look into that. If that's true, that'd be insane.
Yeah, but again, not the best looking game, but constant support. So.
I think the game looks great. I mean, not graphically, but like style-wise.
Yeah. Anyways, this tangent has gone on for a little while. That's what I've been playing. So.
Okay. Also been playing Helldivers 2. I've been loving it. I haven't really played it this week, but I played it all weekend. I have a little over 20 hours in it. I've done, I think all the plants have been accessible so far. I've had all sorts of experiences in that game, from really good ones with people who played really well. I got with one random group that I wish I never lost. Those 3 dudes were awesome. The rest of the randos I've played with are always a mixed bag of good players, new people, which I always try to be open-minded with, and horrible players. Sometimes people accidentally team kill. Some people do it because they're reckless, and some people very rarely do it on purpose, which is annoying. When playing with friends, though, it's always a blast. This is a game that I almost only want to play with friends. Because the game's best with 4 people. You can play by yourself, but it's best with people, and it's best with people who are going to play in the way you prefer. Obviously, there's going to be people out there who are going to want shenanigans and chaos, stuff like that. I'm not really looking for that. But a good cooperative team. Not a whole lot of games like it when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Helldivers 2 is definitely doing something good with how they did this. It's great too, because I've been anticipating this game. It's better than what I thought it was going to be. So really happy with it. The shooting is really good. The weapons are awesome, impactful, great sound design, like really impressive.
One of my favorite shotguns in a game.
The shotgun's useful. The SMGs are useful. Everything's good. I forget what they're called, but like the special weapons are always a lot of fun. Stratagems, calling in missiles and napalm and stuff like that. This game has some of the coolest looking lighting and explosion effects, which is weird to say, but it's true. I made a video showing how an explosion, a big one, explodes, sends a shockwave out. You see the shockwave, you see the smoke flying, and as the smoke is flying by and the shockwave's passing by this enemy in the background, it hits him, and then he fucking exploded when the shockwave hit him. So it's not even like it exploded and he just took damage. It like traveled and hit him. And so it has some of the coolest explosion animations I've like ever seen in a game. So in a game where you're calling in a lot of explosions, they really put work into it. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's fantastic. I really enjoy it. Some people are claiming it's a pay to win game. You can spend money in it. I don't think it is pay to win though, because it's co-op first off, but secondly, the currency they're talking about that you can buy, you can earn in the game. So it does not feel pay to win.
Also, what are you winning?
Access.
Okay.
I think people are just upset with the idea that somebody can get stuff before you can if they spend money, and I understand where they're coming from, but I guess I would just argue I'm not concerned with that, because it's not that they can get something I can't get. It's just they can spend real money to get to something a little faster than me, which inevitably I will also get and not have had to spend money on it. So, and all that's going towards the team anyway. So like if it was a PvP game, which I thought was interesting, they came out and said they will never add PvP to this game. It's not what the game's about. And they said, if you want a good PvP game like this, play Tarkov, which I'm like, shout out to Tarkov. But it's not a PvP game. So I'm not concerned with pay to win, and I don't think it's pay to win. Also, that pay to win discussion has evolved into misinformation. People are out there telling people there's a limited amount of that special currency and you have to spend money to continue in it. That's not real. It's not true. So if you're one of the people who have heard that and you don't have that info, I'm telling you it's not real. So yeah.
Also, depending on your definition of win, I call BS as well, because you get cosmetics for the most part. So they have stats sometimes, but it's not enough to like. I don't think you're getting that much of an edge for it to be considered a win. So
yeah,
but that's an opinion. So,
and as somebody who has no problem spending money on games when I'm enjoying it, I have never thought about spending money on this game. So I don't think I will. I think
Chris did.
Really?
Like $2, but yeah.
Oh.
And he never spends.
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, he never spends money on games.
I'm over here spending money on gacha games, and
why? What's he getting?
He wanted a chess piece.
Well, they got him, I guess.
Yeah,
that's weird. Somebody
weird.
who does spend money regularly on shit. I'm just like, I don't need to. Like, I'm already playing the game. I'm gonna unlock this stuff anyway.
Yeah,
so
it was just funny. He said that. I was like, what?
He must have really needed that right now.
Warframe and refused to spend on that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else really to say about Helldivers 2 outside of it's just awesome. Like, the hype's real. If you're curious about it and you like third-person shooters, buy it. It's really good. Just be ready. It is a challenging game, and it is a it's got firm rules that are fair, but you will die, like, from a lot of things if you don't pay attention.
You'll die paying attention sometimes.
Yeah.
Someone else wasn't paying attention.
Oh, also, one last thing. The communications game is awesome.
It's pretty good, yeah.
You can play it without talking to people. You should talk to people. It's typically a good way to play cooperative games, and you'll definitely benefit from it. But this game has a ping system that your NPC will not only call out specifically what you're pinging, but also the coordinates of it. Mm-hmm. So if you see a bug just over there and you hit ping on it, your guy will be like, bug northwest. And then it'll have a ping on him. And so anybody hears your character say that, looks over, it's pinged. It's really good.
That doesn't mean fetch, by the way, though.
Yeah. No, a lot of people, as soon as you ping something, they just run at it or try to kill it. And it's like, come on, we're moving. We don't got to stop for every little thing. A lot of people are like, we got to have this firefight right now. I'm like, we have a time limit, dude. We got to go. We have limited ammo. But yeah, really good communication. The game is set up so you don't have to talk to anybody. Really smart stuff. So I really appreciate that. And a game that already has really good sound design, even though every once in a while I think the directional sound's kind of weird when it comes to hearing ambient bugs. Otherwise, I think it has fantastic sound design and yeah, really like that. Anyway, I could gush about it all day. It's a great game. Definitely pick it up if you're even slightly curious about it. I am slacking on the PS Plus games and Game of the Month. I haven't played any of them except for Foam Stars, and my experience with Foam Stars was what I said earlier. I did the tutorial, and then I couldn't join a game. So I'm sure that's not going to be the regular experience, but that was my experience the first time I tried it. So far, I haven't played online yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it online. And yeah, this weekend I'll be making an effort to play all those games. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so I played a current game, but to play that game I had to beat another game. So I played Yakuza Like a Dragon. I was playing that like a week or two ago, and then community member Wade picked up Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth for me, which I really appreciate. Thank you. And I was like, well, fuck, now I really want to play that. I really want to play it, but now that I had it, I was like, well, I gotta beat Like a Dragon now for sure. So I sat down, I played through it, I beat it. I won't say anything spoiler wise, but Yakuza Like a Dragon is an awesome game. If you haven't played it yet, you should play it, especially if you like the Yakuza games. I'm sure you've played it then. But also if you like JRPGs, it's like legit in my top 10 to 20 favorite JRPGs ever. It's so good. Story's awesome. Characters are awesome. I fucking love the Yakuza experience of just running around in town and doing like mini games, going to stores, having all these little mini adventures happening constantly. Such a cool experience. And the story was really good in Like a Dragon. And yeah, it's just a super solid game. One thing that's really cool is going from that game straight into Infinite Wealth right after beating it, is seeing all the little things that they changed, because they made a lot of little changes that makes a huge change. In the original Like a Dragon, you couldn't run through bushes. They're just solid. In this you can. And I was like, oh my god, this is a fucking game changer, because you'd have to like run around hedges and stuff.
Right.
And in this you can walk right through them. There's also like a loot in them now too. So there's way more loot just like all over the map. So it's kind of more worth looking around for stuff. Also, vaulting over like obstacles in the first game was a little slower and kind of annoying in combat scenarios. Sometimes your characters would get stuck on stuff. In this game, it's like a much smoother and faster process, whether you're just like running around or you're in combat. They definitely looked at that and changed it. So really happy with that. And then in the new game, they kept combat similar, but now you can have a choice on where you move your character during your turn, which I think is really neat, because now you can do positional combat. You can kind of aim them at walls or aim them to other people in your party, and then if they bounce into someone in your party, they'll attack them now. So there's a strategy that's been added, another layer to the already awesome combat from the first game. So it's cool to see the game kind of evolve like that. I won't talk about the story of Infinite Wealth, because obviously the game's new, but it's interesting so far. It's a cool continuation from the last game, but where I'm at in the game, I'm waiting for the story to start rolling. It's taken a lot longer than the first game, in my opinion, because the first game, like, some pretty heavy events happen early on, and then you're trying to figure things out. In this game, there's like a set objective, and then you're going to that objective, and then it's like, hey, there's all these mini games. And I've been spending hours just learning about these mini games and playing these mini games. So I'm waiting for the story to start getting some momentum so I can get more invested in that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, overall it's been really cool. Been really enjoying it. Can't wait to keep playing it. Sucks because I'm playing that, I'm really liking it, but then I'm looking at Final Fantasy VII Remake, needing to go back and play that, and I don't have enough time to be playing multiple JRPGs. That's just not gonna happen for me. But
yeah, it's so rough right now, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's too many like big games, like long games coming out that I just don't have the time for. I barely have time for one of them, let alone two at a time. So then all like the mini games I'm playing, like Helldivers 2 and stuff like that, it's just like a really rough time, which I wasn't expecting for the beginning of the year, but here we are. So yeah, Infinite Wealth is awesome. I'm going to continue playing it, and I will keep you guys up to date. I just can't talk about too much right now because it's still really fresh, but it's really good. So, yeah. Anything else? That's all I've been playing.
That's it.
I did pick up Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I will be playing that soon.
For Carl.
Rock and Stone. All right. Nothing else?
That's it.
Let us know in the comments. What games have you guys been playing? What have you been enjoying? What have you... maybe you played something that wasn't good. Did you play Suicide Squad? Let us know what you think of that. And
bringing democracy to the galaxy.
Have you played Helldivers 2? Are you liking that? And yeah, let us know everything you think about in the comments below when it comes to what you've been playing. All right, let's move over to the future of Xbox. We got a video we're going to be watching called Updates on the Xbox Business, official Xbox podcast. I think it's funny they call it a podcast, yet it's another video of theirs that they do. This is 22 minutes and 54 seconds long, so pretty short, but a little bit of a sit. And this is going to be, I think, Phil Spencer and a bunch of other people talking about basically the future of the business of the Xbox brand. Now, this is going to be an important video to watch because for a week now, there's been heavy speculation on
and reactions
where Xbox is going. I was one of those people that did a reaction, although I was very safe with mine. I'm typically very careful with what I say when it comes to speculation, but a lot of people out there had a lot of opinions on something that had zero facts.
Just a lot of people just making really rash decisions with like...
There's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, which is complicated, obviously, but I would urge you not to make objects that important to yourself.
Yeah, well, all the consoles have their fans,
sure,
and some feel like they have an allegiance to the brand, which I think is fine to a certain extent. Like, have your preferences, be like a PlayStation fan, be an Xbox fan, and I'm even okay with like the light console war stuff in like friendly terms of going like, yeah, you know, Xbox isn't good for whatever this reason, like stuff like that. But when people get really intense with it, that kind of sucks. And you saw some of that come out with the early speculation that Xbox is going to make their games multi-platform. There were Xbox fans who were revoking their 10 out of 10 reviews for Xbox games, saying if they're not going to be exclusive, they're going to take away their 10 out of 10 reviews, which I think is crazy. There's also Xbox influencers taking all of their Xbox branding and protest off of their X accounts to something that we didn't at the time have facts for yet.
Yeah,
so, which was really crazy to watch. And of course, I was paying attention to a lot of this because I'm interested in, you know, everything gaming, but also just the business aspect of it. And seeing that there's all this heavy speculation, then Phil Spencer coming out saying, hey, we got something coming up next week. We'll explain ourselves. And I'm like, that's not an answer. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, there's all this heavy speculation, and you went, we'll talk in a week. And it's like, what does that mean? So, yeah, it's been a really interesting week of heavy speculation. A lot of emotions already. A lot of people, you know, thinking either Xbox is about to make the biggest, smartest move ever without knowing the facts, or thinking they're going to make the dumbest move ever without knowing the facts. And then people celebrating both of those. So it's been crazy. And even discussing the speculation of this, I had people come at me saying that I was spreading misinformation. I was like, I literally did not pretend to know one single fact. I told you this is all rumors, speculation, and a lot of things you think I'm saying as my opinion, I literally just said people are saying that.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy. So I'm really happy we finally got an endpoint and we finally got the facts, and I'll be excited to hear it from the horse's mouth himself, Phil. So yeah. I do know where this goes because I looked it up beforehand, but I have not watched this yet. And I think it's kind of a big nothing burger, but we'll watch it. We'll react to it. We'll talk about it. I was going to talk a little bit about it right now, but because you might not know some things, I figure we can watch it. But yeah, do you have anything you want to say on this before watching this? Are you in any way invested in Xbox as a brand, business, and anything you're hoping to see or hear from this?
I have zero personal investment in this at all. Obviously my curiosities are more so the overall state of gaming and not just what one company has to say about it. So I am curious, obviously, because they are one of the big names.
Yep.
What their plan and what they're going to do and what that might mean for gaming as a whole. But as far as like just Xbox, I have no idea. I just know the speculation and stuff, and if any of that speculation is even true, I think Nothing Burger is pretty good. I know some people probably won't like that, but I would be saying that the same thing if Sony decided to start publishing all their games too. The only thing I'm concerned about, in the terms of the rumor part, which is all I can talk about because obviously I haven't seen this yet, is competition is important. So That is a concern. If a big person disappears, I kind of had those same concerns when Activision was kind of in this weird spot and EA's in this weird spot, and I was like, what's happening with these big companies? But they're all in bad spots, so it doesn't really matter, because if they're all in bad spots, I guess that competition is still technically there. So I don't know, it's weird.
Well, the competition can evolve too, but the thing is like the idea of Xbox being a publisher and putting their games out on multiple platforms, I already expected a lot of the games that they have now purchased to do that anyway, because the things that they had purchased, all the big companies, Activision, Blizzard, these were already multi-platform companies anyway, and for them to buy them and not continue to do that would be stupid on their part, and also irresponsible for them to govern over other devs that have been doing that for so long and tell them to stop doing it. Because why would you break something that doesn't need, or why would you fix something that doesn't need fixed? Like it's already been working, so why would you be like, okay, Blizzard, actually you're not going to be doing what you've been doing. Activision, you're not going to be doing what you've been doing. So to buy these major devs and publishers, you're kind of taking on now you being that dev and publisher. And so I kind of already expected that.
I do kind of wonder too if we're going to head into a place where companies still do their exclusives, obviously, but they move more towards a timed exclusive aspect instead of just a hard exclusive, because then you still have that incentive to buy my console, because for the first 6 months, 12 months, whatever, that these games are here, and if you want to play them, maybe part of the conversation while it's relevant, you come over here. But if you don't mind waiting, it'll be coming to you soon. So
yeah, I also think that there'd be a benefit, for instance, if they sell Call of Duty on everything, but you can play Call of Duty on Game Pass. Because now there's an incentive for you to be on Game Pass.
Definitely.
Because now for the one price of entry, you get access to a game that other people will have to choose to spend full price on. So there's a competitive edge there still without... It's an evolution of exclusivity, basically. But also, the timed exclusive is nothing new. We've been doing it for a while now, and it seems to work out pretty well, even though now we see Sony releasing a game simultaneously on PC and PlayStation at the same time, and they're getting the benefits of it. So
just super weird in their behalf too. We're just seeing a lot of changes.
I think
in the
people are
right now.
I think last year, even though it was a really good year for gaming, I think with a lot of things happening in the economy, where people are choosing to spend their money, where people are choosing to spend their time, people are reevaluating how to maximize what they can make. And I think the gaming market is evolving and changing. I think these companies have to start kind of thinking about that. I would hate to see exclusives go away. I know it's blasphemy. A lot of people hate exclusives, but I think it's so fucking important to solidify your brand and the value you bring to it. You can't just have a console be a glorified PC, because then at that point, I don't need to buy your console. I'll buy my PC and I'll buy your controller if I really like it enough for some games. Like I said in my one video where I was talking about competition matters, like every every brand out there that has other brands within the same ecosystem all have something they have to offer you that they don't, to make you choose them over the other. Consoles are no different. And so exclusives are really important to that. It also, if I can play Uncharted on everything, it doesn't incentivize Xbox to think about, well, maybe we should offer something like that too. Now we get 2 games, and hopefully one will outdo the other or compete with the other. Now I have more options in gaming of games to play. With less exclusives and less competition, we have less drive to compete with that and get more things out of that. Competition really does innovate. If you don't believe that, I mean, look at Apple. Apple's been competing with everyone who's been going out there for a long time, and I don't think they innovate, but they solidify and make great products because they're competitive. Just like Samsung creates a bunch of crazy shit with their phones because they're competing. Cars, Tesla, fast food, fucking everything. Everything's competing with each other to make more and more things that people want to buy.
All right, I think fast food's a good one too. The example, because look at what happened after Popeyes, released that chicken sandwich.
Yep.
And now everyone has a chicken sandwich.
Yep.
So.
And like I brought it before, like in the opposite case of when people were like, "Oh, exclusives suck. Put everything on everything." It's like, okay, well, you're gonna kill the consoles at that point, because that's like if McDonald's is like, "Yeah, fucking Jack in the Box, here, you're allowed to make the Big Mac now." It's like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons you go there. Or their chicken nuggets. It's one of the reasons you go there. Like
their $4 hash brown.
Or something, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like fucking their Shamrock Shake. I don't know if they still do that or not. I don't eat a whole lot of fast food. Yeah. But you get my point. Like you have to have something to incentivize people to choose you in business. It's not a charity. So, and whether Xbox's exclusive evolves into something else, like I said, Game Pass, it does seem like they're putting their most effort into Game Pass.
Yeah.
You got to make that, the choice for people to make, the undeniable choice. And so far, Game Pass offers the best deal in gaming. I don't think there's a better deal in gaming in terms of like service than Game Pass. So they already have the lead on that, in my opinion. But in terms of like exclusives, or if they want to start publishing for other consoles, there's still ways they can incentivize you to choose them over the other people. And so it'll be really interesting to hear what they have to say on that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely interesting right now, because I do think a mix between like the economy and then people just realizing that having your product as many places as possible makes more money. Like that's just a fact. So
yeah, it's an interesting balance.
Yeah,
because it's obvious if you can sell it everywhere. And people always think about like the dev is also like on the same team. It's like, no, the dev, anyone who creates anything wants as many people to see it as possible.
Definitely.
If they're putting it out there.
Also, all the devs are friends with each other.
Yeah, but like there's no Xbox studio who's releasing stuff only on Xbox and going like, hell yeah, this is only for the Xbox people. They would love to release it on PlayStation. They would love, if they could, release it on Nintendo, because that means more people can love the thing they made.
Most creators, regardless of the topic of what they're creating, want people to see their creations.
Sure. That's what I said. Like, yeah, you want as many people to interact with what you're making as possible. Yeah. So, these things are only locked because of it's an incentive. It's a motive driver. It's business. It makes sense. But you will make more money. But with the more money you make there, are you going to push business somewhere else? Possibly in the long run. These are all things you got to kind of factor and balance. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where things kind of go, because I do sense a shift, not just with Xbox, but with everybody right now.
Definitely.
And trying to feel out the market. I don't think anyone's making hard decisions yet, but I think people are feeling the market out.
Or insulting us. Ubisoft.
True. Or, Rocksteady and AAA in general, I feel like is I just saw recently, and it might be real. I feel like it can't be, but I was told it was. Diablo 4 has a horse skin that's $65.
I think I saw that. They also, like, Portal skins are like $30 or something like that.
Yeah. And I think the video I saw, the game is $60. and the horse skin's $65.
Right, they're pulling free-to-play tactics on a premium game.
I can't even express in the short amount of time I would like to take to talk about this, because we've got to watch this, how fucking insanely insulting that is to anybody who is even humored giving them money or their fucking time. That is disgusting that a premium game would expect you to spend 65 real dollars on a fucking skin for a horse. Even for free to play, that'd be crazy. But for premium, that's insane. And somebody's going to pay for that, but like, holy shit.
Yeah. It's definitely less, it's not excusable, I'd say, in a game you've paid for already.
It's more than the game.
I've seen $60 skins in free games, though. So
sure. Yeah. I think that's crazy high anyway. But I've spent $40 on a skin or a mount in Final Fantasy.
Which is a premium game.
Sure. But it's different because it's like, well, I guess not really, because Diablo is a service game as well.
No, and there's a lot of people who don't like it in Final Fantasy as well. So,
well, I'm not a huge fan of it either when I bought it, but I wanted it really bad. So I guess I don't know, man. I think there's a difference between a mount and a skin, though, even though it's kind of close. So I'm trying to reevaluate my argument.
I think $60, regardless of
it's crazy,
is crazy. That is a lot of money.
Maybe it's the time investment I'm having an issue with, because the game hasn't been out for very long. It doesn't have an expansion. It's a $60 game. They want you to spend more on a skin for a mount you already have, as opposed to a game I've been playing for years that I can keep playing without buying an expansion.
As a guy who spends money on this kind of crap and supporting these systems that I shouldn't be supporting, I don't like it. So in either game, I love Final Fantasy 14, but I think the shop is stupid. So.
I'm trying to, yeah. Well, I've always thought it was fucking really expensive, but I'm trying to like quantify in real time right now why one feels less gross to me than the other, even though they're both not preferable. I guess maybe because the $40 price point isn't more expensive than what I spent on the game originally.
But you're paying $15 a month.
Well, I'm not regularly, but yeah, when I was playing, $15 a month.
It's all crap.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it just feels egregious with the Diablo thing, but yeah, it's all shit.
I think the hardest part for me personally is that, you know, when Final Fantasy 14 came out, and Final Fantasy in general, like we recognize Final Fantasy games are always different. So, and in this case, this one's an MMO, and then the other ones aren't. As for Diablo, started off as a series with a continuing, you know, story, and it was a game you bought. So you got the game, and then they turned it into a service because a lot of these AAA companies are just doing that with their games.
Yeah,
which
is also kind of
depressing.
Yeah.
I like the occasional service game, but man, not every IP needs to turn into a service game. It's a big reason I actually, and we kind of saw pushback with Diablo 3 when they had like the auction house in it, right? They got rid of it because like people were just like, you know, against it for a while. But that game was like testing a lot of that kind of stuff out even for them. So, and then WoW obviously does it. You know, because MMOs are an easier market to do that kind of stuff in. So,
yeah,
it sucks. But I play gacha games, so it's hard for me to have a hard opinion because I spend money in those too. So,
yeah, it's interesting because like I've spent a shitload of money in like Warframe back in the day, too.
Yeah, that game is like truly free. So
yeah.
That's a way different story. It's like spending money in Path of Exile. That game is free.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, it's supporting the game. And I guess it's all supporting the game technically. But yeah, when it's like free to play, it makes a lot more sense to feel incentivized to purchase things as a way to support it, especially if it's stuff that you want. I always will only buy things that I want, not just because I want to support it. But in Warframe, if you're buying like the frames, you're buying brand new characters. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I'm still just kind of blown away by a $65 skin. it feels gross to me, especially because it's not adding functionality.
I mean, it's just a big price tag for the category it falls in.
Yeah,
like it's kind of crazy. It reminds me of when Neverwinter, came out.
Oh, dude, that was disgusting too.
And back then, what was it, 40? I think. In an ecosystem where you would never spend more than 20 for something like that.
Yeah, they jumped the gun,
and it was
before
like
a lot
twice
of people.
the price of other games. This is kind of a similar thing where like the standard price I'd say is probably like 20 to 40 for this kind of thing, and they were charging 65. It's a crazy jump. So
I also think it doesn't feel self-aware either, because like it's a AAA game, it's a skin. It's a skin. It's not a mount. It's a fucking skin. In this economy, with a game that doesn't even have like, its reception is mixed, and that's being nice. The player count's not great, and it just feels like really weird. Like it's like if you potentially had wronged somebody, and then you expect something from them, although it is optional.
Yeah,
but it's still gross. You don't have to buy it. Anyway, we're talking a lot about this. I think it's gross, but I also do agree that other games that do similar things are also gross feeling. I do think that the prices, even the price I paid in Final Fantasy 14 for, I think it's the Whale or whatever the fuck was the $40 one. Even that felt gross, but I was feeling like being a baller at the time, so I just fucking did it.
Yep. It's a tricky one because like that system's here to stay because people do it, myself included.
Sure.
So the only way to get rid of it's to stop,
which people aren't going to do. So
they're going to do.
Yeah. Anyway, we should start watching this. This is a 22-minute video, so we should get it going. Okay. And yeah, you got nothing else to say?
No.
This is updates on the Xbox business in 3, 2, 1, and go.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Gamepass. And we want to talk about hardware too and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
1 second.
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in...
Okay, real quick for context, though, these games that are the 4 games he's talking about, the rumor is it's Pentiment, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush was leaked a while ago.
Yeah, I remember that
with
one.
PlayStation shirts and stuff in game. So that's it's a pretty good speculation. And then Sea of Thieves, also was rumored early on, and then yesterday, Sea of Thieves put out a tweet saying that rowboats come in green, rowboats come in blue, and they come in red.
So it's gonna be on everything.
So, which I think would make complete sense for them to put that game on everything, because it's a multiplayer game that will only benefit from a bigger community.
Sure.
It'd be like, I think it'd be stupid for them not to put that on everything. Somebody told me I was reading into it too far with the rowboat thing. I'm like, come on, dude. The day before this fucking announcement, they put out a thing about red, green, and blue rowboats.
Which
and
is quite literally the color
Yeah.
schemes of the consoles.
But maybe I'm reading too far into it. But I if I was going to put money on a game, I think it'd be Sea of Thieves. And then Grounded and Pentiment were both speculated on as well.
I don't know what a Pentiment is.
Pentiment is like a little indie game. It was like 2D perspective, like medieval game. It looks kind of neat. I never played it, so.
What was the other one again?
Grounded.
That also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Certain games just make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I'd be a little more concerned with something like a Halo, a Forza, something like that. Like, even though it would make a lot of sense to put Halo on everything or Forza on everything, it also, those are kind of like console selling style games. And
One Forza quite literally was made to compete with Gran Turismo, which it still could compete with Gran Turismo.
It's also a consistently successful title.
Sure, but my point was, even if it came out on PlayStation, it would still be competing as another racer.
Yeah.
It would compete even more because it would sell more over there. But I don't know if Sony would want it over there, though, because it's a competing game. But that game was literally invented to compete with Gran Turismo. So Halo, though, I think would feel like blasphemy. I'm not saying that like I'm against it, but it would feel like a sin to be playing Halo with a PlayStation controller.
Yeah.
I know you could do that on PC, but like it just goes against everything in my brain because I grew up playing Halo on Xbox. So, but I also think an online shooter would benefit from more people playing it. So, but anyway, let's continue.
And how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles.
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, let's say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in as not future iterations company, of those, sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there are there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox.
Sure.
We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not.
It's very
and we're
self-aware
gonna
of
learn.
speculation in the last
So when
week.
you are thinking about the future and this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
Mm-hmm. And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and
true.
that really has changed the way that we think about
That's why
things.
Disney
So in
just
the midst of all
invested
that,
like $1
I think
billion
we
in
at First
Epic.
Party can come back to sort of some core
I think a lot
principles.
too was because the
First, that
Lego
all of
game
our
was-
games will be
that
on the
they did,
Xbox
apparently
platform.
was, like, really well
Second, all of our
received
games
as
will
well,
go into
so.
Game Pass on day one. And third,
showed they
we
could do
know that
brands
Game
with the
Pass will
Fortnite
only
engine
be
and stuff like that.
available
I don't
on
know.
Xbox. So there's
Epic's
sort
got
of
some weird shit
starting
happening,
points
man.
for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the 2 key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing. And I think is something that we as First Party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today.
I won't be surprised to see Call of Duty come
And it's
then.
all part of our commitment to make Xbox, the Xbox experience, and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience
It's
of
up to
Diablo
34
4.
million now. Huh?
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love. And that they can play those games where they want to go play.
See, this is a thing that I've been talking about since before they even purchased a lot of these companies, that it seems like a lot of Xbox, not all of them, but a lot of Xbox fans didn't agree with is, I was like, if you're going to buy these publishers that have been like multi-platform publishers, you got to maintain that. It doesn't make sense to not. And a lot of people are like, no, now that Xbox has them, they should be exclusive. And I'm like, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, you just bought like so many different like gigantic multi-platform publishers. It wouldn't make sense business wise. And so now they're saying, you know, that they're like a big publisher on PlayStation because they technically have to be now. They bought people who are making games for that.
Yeah.
He's just kind of confirming that, yeah, like they own too many devs that put out games to just put it in one spot. They have to. People talk about like Microsoft has all this money, they can just throw it away wherever. They spend a shitload of money on these deals. They have to have a return on that. And I'm sure they're making enough money, but on you know, Gamepass and some of the games that they're selling on their console. But to make that back, they have to maintain selling on other consoles. So that's all I'm hearing him say right now is that, like, yeah, we have a lot of devs and a lot of publishers. We've got to kind of do what they were already doing already now that we own them. Like, now we've just kind of become that publisher.
I mean, they became an investor, basically.
Sure, yeah. And yeah, they have to maintain that because they just spent a bunch of money. You gotta grow. You can't just maintain. So, yeah, that's what I'm getting from this.
But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Yep. Growth in an Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years, and I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have?
$600
or do you
skins.
think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on
really
Xbox
transparent.
for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, I mean, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, I mean, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible.
Yep.
It's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. You know, Power World was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Gamepass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's
Microsoft
all because we
them.
give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that, that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap we will have ever seen.
So there's just real quick, because we're talking about the hardware and they're talking about announcing stuff. There was a leak from like 2 years ago showing the next Xbox will be coming out in 2028. There'll be, I think, double the power of what the Xbox is. People keep bringing this up. That's not confirmed. And if that leak came from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that plan could be completely scrapped by now because they haven't even made the thing yet. So people are really hung up on that. The other thing that got leaked, or could be a rumor, I'm not sure if there's an official source for it, is in 2026, there's a plan for them to release something similar to, everybody keeps saying the Switch, but in my brain, I'm thinking Steam Deck, that they're going to release, which would make complete sense because there's been so many times Phil Spencer is like on a plane using, when the Steam Deck came out, he's using the Steam Deck, and then he's using like the ROG or wherever the hell.
I've also seen him just use his phone too.
Yeah, and so he's constantly doing all this portable stuff, and I think it would make complete sense for Xbox to create a Steam Deck like hardware that's just basically a portable PC that has access to Game Pass. I think that actually would be the smartest move for them to do, because they have the resources, they have the tech. It seems like they've been testing everybody else's things out, and I think for their philosophy of play anywhere, basically from anything, a portable console that could stream games but also play them natively, I think would make complete sense. But those are the two things floating around right now that we will likely hear something about.
Yeah, well, and the thing I was going to bring up too is like you got all these hardware companies making these portable PCs right now.
Yeah,
you also have Steam included in this. I've been messing around with it myself, but all these services that, like, I bought a controller for my phone. I've been playing some Steam games, while I'm at work on my breaks and stuff. I've played my PlayStation games using the PlayStation Link app as well. Works very well, and I'm sure the Game Pass stuff does too. Sony made their own streaming, portable hardware. I don't think it was the best thing they've done, but like you can see all these people are kind of playing with this idea of basically accessing your library anywhere. And so I do think it would make a lot of sense for them to go that. And like you said, Phil's already been touching every handheld out there.
Yeah, and I also think Xbox is positioned to be basically a leader in game streaming. I think they have been hitting it aggressively, and I think if anybody is positioned to basically do streaming games best, I think it's Xbox. I think they've put the most work into it, so that would make complete sense. But yeah, I don't know. I see that where it would be going. I also think there was a quote, I don't remember specifically, so let me know in the comments if you know. I think they said they weren't interested in a mid-generation hardware refresh. I think they just want to make like their next thing, whether that would be some kind of like Game Pass mobile console, which I think would be really cool if they did that. I would love to see everybody make like a portable console, because the Switch is fucking awesome, even though it's outdated. I love my Steam Deck, but I'm pretty sure they said they weren't interested in doing that. So they might just be. There was also rumors saying they're just going to jump into next gen, which is crazy. And then
and graphic cards, ever since these consoles came out, jumped twice.
Yeah, yeah. This generation's kind of cursed because it came out, and right when it came out, graphics jumped
at the same time of hardware.
Yeah, it's insane.
Accessibility was really low.
So I could kind of see everybody going like, okay, well, maybe we should just jump ahead real quick. And then IGN got fact checked on X, but they said that Sony had said that they're in the latter stages of the PS5, and that's not what they said. They said they're in the latter years of the PS5, and that distinction matters because when you say stages, that makes it sound like they're ending it, they're phasing it out. What they mean is they have passed the center point of a console generation, and so they're thinking about we are in those stages where we start seeing pros, start seeing slims, which we have seen the new PS5.
It means Mark's in a closet somewhere building the next fucking
and he was already doing that last year.
So.
So people these consoles came out during a weird time in the world during the pandemic, and so those years kind of got stolen from a lot of us. So I think people aren't really thinking about the time these consoles have been out.
Long time,
And so and this generation has felt kind of lackluster compared to prior generations due to pandemic stuff, but also just like the amount of games that have come out. It's been a weird generation, so I think people are kind of feeling that a bit. But yeah, I do think we'll probably get a Pro for PS5, but the 6 is already in development, so it's going to be weird.
Yeah, I am hoping everyone leans towards the mobile aspect, though.
I think they kind of have to, because phones are turning into consoles.
I've been using mine lately.
Yeah, but even like you can play some modern games on like iPhone natively. It doesn't run as well, Arcade, but you can.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think Resident Evil's on there.
Yeah. The remake and a couple other games. So these are things that people are going to have to start thinking about. And I think Xbox, even though I think they're spread possibly too thin, they are tackling every fucking dimension of gaming because, as I've said a million times, they have their hardware, but Microsoft is a software fucking company. And so they're definitely thinking about the ecosystem of where they can branch to the most people possible, just like fucking Windows. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I would love to see Microsoft, Sony, I mean, Nintendo's already doing it, but like make their Switches, their Steam Decks, their their ROGs, whatever, like, and just have that station you dock it at. Because I'm not much of a mobile gamer. I want to sit and play, but having the choice to take it with me is great. I also like these companion apps as much as like I've never been a fan of companion apps. Recently, being able to play my PlayStation and my Steam library from my phone by just clicking a controller on the outside of it has been really eye-opening in a lot of ways too. So, because I just have access to my games everywhere now.
That's how I felt when, not xCloud, I called it by its early name. When Xbox Cloud Gaming first came out, I got into it. And even though the latency was kind of like not great, it kind of like changed my perspective on when this gets better. This will be, for the most part, I wouldn't play Call of Duty or a racing game on that, but like a lot of like casual games is already feasible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these are things that they're obviously already thinking about, and they've had conversations a million times about. They're, in my opinion, leading when it comes to cloud gaming. But yeah, it's interesting because thinking about the next generation of hardware. This is another thing too when people are talking about, and we'll continue the video soon if you're watching just for the video. When people are talking about like Xbox and hardware, and some people thinking that they were going to like abandon it if they go full publisher, and that never made sense to me because Xbox, their philosophy is to get pretty much games in everybody's hands no matter what. And if you take away your hardware, you've now taken access to a lot of your base. A lot of Xbox's base is on the Xbox hardware.
Yeah.
And then us on PC. And so it wouldn't make sense to take away a cheaper option, cheaper sounds bad, more economic option of, I mean, they made the S, which I think was a mistake, but probably not, because a lot of people bought the S because it was more economic for them. And they have access to Gamepass, so it makes sense. I say it's mistakes. I think the hardware makes things difficult for them. But all that shows me is they're all about, like, we need as much options as possible. If you can game on your phone, we want you doing that. If you can only afford the S, buy that. You're going to have a great time. If you can get the X, you're going to have the best time in console, power or whatever outside of the PS5. If you're on PC, you can play there. Like, they're not going to get rid of hardware. So I thought it was almost, it'd be interesting if they like released like a dongle too. That was like an Xbox branded dongle where you could just stream games to that. As an accessible,
like a Fire Stick or something,
like a Roku.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be ideal, but fucking imagine if you're like $30-$40 to buy this thing and you can play, like, if you got good enough internet, all the streaming games you have access to, and then after that you're paying like $15 or wherever you're paying a month.
Though in most cases
to stream
people
games,
have smart TVs and they wouldn't need it. But like,
sure, but because like maybe some people don't have that access. I could imagine them doing that.
Or even just traveling to like hotels and stuff.
Sure,
like
yeah,
that.
it'd be great.
The ones that let you access
I would
the
be
TV.
I would be interested in possibly, or at least connecting your phone to the TV to do that.
Yeah.
Like, just that's my point. Is Xbox wants access points, so they're not going to get rid of hardware. I never thought that. And Microsoft has the money to lose on that endeavor. So, Anyway, let's continue.
Okay.
In a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. As we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. Slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. One of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally
Sony.
It's
in terms of
tighter, which makes compatibility. You end up doing these generational compatibilities that we built. But I will say compatibility. The ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
When you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Gamepass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Gamepass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. It's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players?
Yeah, don't pull an embracer.
It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And
this might be the year
more
for
in
Xbox
development,
in terms
which
of games.
I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase.
Sony coming out and saying they don't have any main party games coming out
on
until next year.
Well,
Which
thank
is
you all
good
for
and bad.
showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Oh, it's over. Real quick on the note of the Sony thing, just because we're here, we're talking about it. I think it's interesting that they're not releasing any first-party stuff in 2025. That sounds like a big mistake in my opinion, but also leaves room for surprises in terms of not like big AAA games coming out on PlayStation. Also, people forget that you can make deals with other devs to be exclusive on your console, and so that leaves room for other games to show up on PlayStation as an exclusive that we might not know about yet. So all that tells me is they're big, Naughty Dogs, Santa Monica, stuff like that. They're not releasing anything this year, which sounds not good in my opinion. It's kind of surprising to hear that, but that doesn't mean that PlayStation won't have games coming out exclusively. It just means none of their games are lining up this year.
Or like Stellar Blade, for example, is coming out.
Sure.
That's on PlayStation.
Yep.
So.
And Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So
Limited exclusive, but yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it's always weird because, like, obviously, like, me and you play mostly on PC, but
Yeah. Yeah, people start talking to me about console war shit. I'm like, no. I'm playing it all. Don't worry. I can't have that conversation.
yeah,
with you.
in fact, to guarantee that there's a Switch also there, so I have access to everything. So, I do have a PlayStation. I like PlayStation exclusives, though. With their trend now of making games available on PC, they may end up in the same pocket that I put Xbox into this point, which is why bother. Personally, I think the console for both is still relevant because there are people who just that is the way they think to play video games, and they should have that available.
Yeah, I love my PS5, but if they do start just releasing their exclusives, this is like how unbiased I am. Like, if they start releasing their exclusives on PC first day, that console is going to become less relevant to me.
Yep.
There's no like I had to learn that lesson last generation with Xbox. I bought the Xbox One. I bought one of those because I was like, I do gaming content on the internet. I feel like I need to be well rounded. And so I'm going to buy that. So when the exclusives come out for that, I will have access to them. I never use the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I still have it in a closet somewhere. I think it's like brand new. I barely touched it because games just come out on PC. I'm on my PC. If I want to use the controller for Xbox, I can use it on my PC. The console became, for me, completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's why I use the word access points. For me, the hardware for Xbox is access points for people who don't have PCs, who don't want PCs, who want that console experience. That's there, but it's not needed. And PlayStation could go the same route.
Yeah, and I've heard from plenty of people who their idea of gaming is to sit on their couch, use their TV, and have a controller in their hands. Like that's their version of like relaxing and playing a game.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely that market's not gonna ever go anywhere, I don't think. And then there are people, like us who are more comfortable sitting in their chair, hunched forward, like like gremlins.
Yeah, and
PC
if I
games,
really wanted the sit around my living room couch experience, though, I also know how to hook up a PC in that scenario. I've told friends before, like, you can have a PC in your living room, and hook that up to your TV. You could have the exact same experience. And with Steam's big picture mode, which works great now, gives you that console experience, and I think it works really good on the Steam Deck.
That's how it works on the phone too.
Yeah, you can have that experience now. They've really got that kind of harness, but I know people who just refuse to do it. So the console gamers is not just an economic thing; it's also a choice. So I also like, because I have more experience with it, because I have a reason to still play my PS5 for now. I do like the console experience sometimes. So there's definitely value there. Also, the innovation in the controllers, I love. What the Xbox Elite Controller 2 and what the DualSense do. Those innovations are awesome, but that doesn't have to be attached to a console. So,
well, and even with all the PC gaming, to this day I still use a PlayStation 4 controller.
It's
for PC. So
it's fucking solid.
So, and I have two of them that just sit on a charger. When I want to play a PC game, I just pop one of them off, hit the button, and go.
But yeah, I just wanted to address the Sony thing though, because it's not a main topic here, but it came up. So
sure. It'll be interesting to see how this year goes for them because of it.
This year's going to be weird because moving into talking about what we just watched, this whole video seemed. First off, I really enjoyed how transparent it was. It was cool to see the business side of things. A lot of fluff talk, but also a lot of transparency, more than I thought we are going to get here. But what I kind of heard here a little bit, because last year was kind of weird for Xbox.
Definitely.
There's a lot of games that potentially I think they thought were going to be fucking huge, and they had some, like, I always bring up Hi-Fi Rush was like across the board celebrated, and it was kind of a surprise because it was a shadow drop, and it did really well, and I love that because I love Tango, but Redfall was like kind of a disaster. I know some people liked it. If you liked it, I'm not talking shit, I'm just saying it obviously had problems, and it obviously hurt that game's potential, and I don't see that game being long-term supported. I don't even think it is. I don't know, just because of how bad of a launch it had. And then Starfield is surprising to me, not being well received. If I mention that shit anywhere, I get mostly negative opinions on it, and not just from Sony people, from like ex-Bethesda fans or Bethesda fans that are like, this game sucks, I'd rather go play Oblivion, or not Oblivion, Skyrim. So yes, like Xbox had some fucking hiccups, even when Phil Spencer had to come and address the Redfall fucking problem. Like, he looked miserable when he talked about it. So you could tell like there's a lot of unintended problems that they just weren't anticipating. Unanticipated, that's what I was looking for. And so between that, where the economy's at, where things are going, and just the fucking rapid evolution of gaming and where it's going, and looking at games like Fortnite going like, you don't need a console to make that. I see that they've been having hard conversations about like, what are we doing? Not hard in the sense that they have to drop their principles, but they are adjusting slightly. Because it sounds like this is a trial run. They're like, we're going to release these 4 games everywhere, and of course, Minecraft's on everything. But it seems like they're just getting their principles down now in what they are going to start doing and how they feel about it. I also kind of sensed that Phil emphasized multiple times about the hardware, and I forgot the chick in the center, the president. She had brought up hardware versus the software. And she almost like she was reaffirming to Phil, like, we do care about the hardware. And he was just like nodding really hard. I feel like they had conversations in the back on like how important hardware is for Xbox and if they need to lean in further on Game Pass or not. And it seemed like, I might be reading too far into this, I was just looking at their body language. It seemed like he's really like, no, Xbox is hardware. Like, we want to keep that. So that was kind of interesting to see. But you can just tell they've been having some hard conversations on how to, as they mentioned, grow, not just maintain, but grow. And that was really interesting to watch. And Sony's having these conversations as well, even though Sony's killing it in terms of selling their hardware 3 times as much as Xbox. With last year, they had a couple big bangers. This year, they're not going to be releasing any of their big AAA games first party. I'm sure they're having conversations similar to this on like,
I'm sure industry wide, because
100%
as
with
we
layoffs
brought up, and then even they said, yeah, there's a lot of games, but there's no growth in the industry.
Yep. And last year was amazing for games.
Yeah, but wasn't amazing at the beginning of this year when those people didn't have jobs anymore. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Though, as we brought up earlier,
that was brought up a lot last year too. Like a lot of devs were saying like, look, I know you guys are like really enjoying all the games coming out, but like, I also have to remind you, I saw this all the time on X, small devs going like, I have to remind you that like devs are being like laid off all over the place.
All over. Yeah.
So like, you guys are like having fun buying all these games and enjoying yourself, but just understand people are losing their jobs right now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an early warning of like kind of what they're talking about. We got to adjust their business. Yeah. Something's up.
Yeah. Well, and then like you got all these multi-platform developers like Square Enix, etc., talking about pulling back from making all these like big budget games and making more like medium budget games. And then we just got done gushing over a couple medium budget games. So like there's obviously some validity to that.
Well, and the biggest game of last year doesn't have a home anywhere. Baldur's Gate 3. Mm-hmm. That was technically, I know people have problems with this, technically an indie dev putting a game out. Came out later on Xbox, but it came out Xbox, PlayStation, PC. It would have been on Switch if they could. And so I'm sure these big fucking companies that own hardware are looking at a game like that going like, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, where's the lightning in the bottle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then Power World comes out. It's not an Xbox game, but it's on Xbox, on PC, does fantastic. And then Sony gets their own like Helldivers 2, where it's doing great on PC, PlayStation. It's really interesting to see, and I know they're taking notice of all this shit.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's a quote. I don't know if it's real or not, because nowadays, how do we know anything's real on the internet? But especially with that AI video generator I saw,
Are we
Sora.
real?
Yeah, we've been AI the whole time. I think Phil Spencer said something about how basically it sucks for Helldivers 2 to only be on PlayStation and PC, but that might not been a real quote, but I read it somewhere. So yeah, I feel like we're going to slowly see the lines of where games are coming out start to kind of blur.
More so in the long term, I think. I do
Yeah.
think early on people are still going to... You have to have a reason to bring people in.
Yep.
And like I can't think of another way other than to be like, you can only play this here, asterisk, for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. I do think a lot of that is going to continue. So.
Unless your console was so much better than the other console, but nowadays that's almost impossible to do. Just like all phones are the fucking same, basically. Just different experiences and different specific things you have access to, which are the exclusives. So yeah, with the consoles, like there's a price point you have to sell it at to make sure people buy it, but there's only so much hardware you can put in at that price point. You gotta get the most bang for your buck, and consoles lose money as soon as they come out too. So like you're gonna lose money anyway. So I don't know. There's a lot to think about in terms of that, like how things are gonna shift. I guess I don't know. I just have a lot of things on my mind in terms of like software versus hardware.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does a console even offer? If you take away the exclusives? This is something I've been talking about forever when it comes to people going like, exclusives suck, get rid of them. And it's like, why are you buying the console then? Like, are you a brand loyalist? Well, that's not most people. Are you that in love with their UI? Because that's not a strong enough selling point for me. And is it just preference and controller? Well, buy a PC, you can buy any controller you want. And without those consoles existing because of the exclusives they have that make people choose them over the other one, what would even be the incentive for the company making the hardware to even fucking make a great controller at that point if they don't care about their hardware? There's a whole ecosystem that feeds back and forth that exclusives is like a huge part of. So yeah.
Yeah. It's also tricky too, because like, for us, obviously, we kind of play on everything anyways. So, and there are people out there who don't have that choice. And so, like, for them, the idea of exclusivity is definitely, like, a big, like, awful thing because they're in a position where they don't get to play everything. And I do think for the consumer, obviously, it's better for exclusivity not to exist. We're not, obviously, talking from that position.
Only from a financial standpoint. But I do think the exclusivity creates the competition, that creates the innovation, which allows for those great games to show up.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as simple as like it's multifaceted. There's different perspectives because it's better for the consumer if they can play a game anywhere they want, but for competition that will inevitably make better games, as there's too many examples throughout history of games coming up because they want to compete with another game. That exclusivity is a huge driver of, although probably less now than it was once. But like I brought up before, Forza was literally invented to combat Gran Turismo. When Forza first came out, for multiple iterations up to like Forza 3 and 4, fucking maybe even 5, the dev and Xbox has taken a completely different road now when it comes to being competitive. Everybody's like, oh, Xbox isn't competing with PlayStation. I'm like, if they're making consoles, they're competing with PlayStation. Doesn't matter. But Turn 10 used to talk borderline shit about Gran Turismo every time they released a new Forza. They were way more competitive about it. Now they're not so much because I think they had a meeting where they're like, we're about everything. Well, we want to be everywhere.
Before Phil Spencer, the guy who was in charge,
Metric,
was definitely more like
competitive.
In that regard.
I think that's actually a weakness of Phil, and I think Phil Spencer's awesome, but I think he's not competitive enough. I think he's way too much of a hippy dippy type dude.
In this state, no way.
Yeah. Yeah, he reminds me of so many people just here. But when he talks, I'm like, yeah, dude, I've talked to a million people like you. But he's also like got a lot of responsibility. He's got a lot of money he's supposed to be making. So I think those things kind of hit each other. But I think Don Matrick, was that his name? He was way more competitive.
Yeah, there used to be a guy before who was like high energy and like we're selling Xboxes,
Yep.
So
and Forza was, I think, probably came like under his Xbox.
I believe so. I could be wrong.
And so, but yeah, there's a bunch of other examples too I could go into of games existing to compete with other games, and that's because when games are locked somewhere and your player base can't play those, and they want games like that, you're gonna feel inclined to try and fill that and be like, oh, we got just like with PlayStation. I'm like, you guys gonna make some shooters sometime? Because like Xbox has you beat on shooters.
Well, then like Square making Foam Stars, which I doubt it'll hit the success that brain please the Squid Game on Switch, man. Splatoon, thank you. That the success of that game, but it's obviously a response to that only existing one spot. So.
Sure, it's like Multiverses, even though that game is in a weird place right now. When it came out, and people loved it. It would not exist if.
This was like PlayStation All Stars and the Nintendo one too, right?
Yeah.
Or not Nintendo.
There's a bunch of games that exist as competition to other games because they see that there's money to be made, and obviously it's not always driven by exclusives, but it is driven by exclusives as well. It's a huge driver of it. So I think exclusives are important, and almost every competitive industry out there has them for a reason. So when people are like, get rid of them, like, that doesn't make sense. Like, no business out there in like the major leagues of like, phones, cars, fast food, like I brought up earlier, would just get rid of the things that makes them specifically them.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. And I don't think your console UI and controller is a strong enough incentive. Now, Xbox has Game Pass, but that's a service, and that's not going to sell the hardware, only slightly. But like a lot of us are on Game Pass on PC. So that's not an exclusive enough incentive to go buy the console unless you either want the console because you're that into it, or you have to for economic reasons.
Yeah.
So... but anyway, all that aside, what'd you take from that?
I mean, other than just kind of enjoying listening to him, talk, business a little bit. Honestly, I didn't take a whole lot away from it. To be honest.
I said it's kind of a nothing burger. I think I took mostly from reading between the lines than the actual facts.
Well, obviously, the biggest thing I took away from it is that. Not that I needed the reminder, but a lot of people do. When you see rumors on the old internet, maybe don't be so passionate to believe them. I just take it that they're testing a lot of stuff right now. I also, looking at the industry as a whole, think everyone's testing stuff right now.
Yep.
Money is a tough subject for a lot of people right now. They're still businesses. They still focus on growth. They got to figure out a way to do that when people are clutching their wallets a little tighter these days. So sometimes that just means getting people's hands on stuff, not necessarily making a financial profit out of it now, but later, which has, I think, always been the Xbox approach anyways. But yeah, anyways, it was nice to hear. I'm mostly excited for them in the prospect of this year. They have a great opportunity to release a lot of stuff that people are going to enjoy on multiple platforms in a time where they probably have the best opportunity to shine because Sony's not going to this year.
This is a great window. And obviously, I don't think that was intended. Like, I don't think that was planned. I think they just have a great window right now to, if they're going to make moves, this is the year to try it. Because when it's 2025 and there are like big PlayStation exclusive games that remind you this is why you buy PlayStation, it's going to be harder. But this year, they got big games coming out, and we're not hearing a lot from Sony. We can still. They could have some surprises, but like one of my most hyped games that I have to play, which will come out on PC and PS5, but is Death Stranding 2. It comes out 2025. So I'm waiting for that game. But another game I'm really excited for is the new Indiana Jones game.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
That's coming out this year. I think it looks awesome. So, and I'm not even an Indiana Jones guy. He's fine, but
sadly more hyped for the strategy game they're coming out, but
yeah, which is also coming out this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got games coming out this year.
Yeah, and that's great to see because they did have a rough year last year, and you know,
and people argue.
I just want to play good games.
Yep.
So
people argue when you talk about Xbox last year that Starfield sold really well, and I'm like, yeah, it did for sure, but you're kind of not thinking long term, because I think that the mixed reception, again, being nice about that, can hurt the perception of not only Bethesda but also Xbox long term. So they got to make that right, and hopefully they can do that with the expansion. But also, they say, you know, they haven't really decided on whether they're going to put Starfield on other platforms or not. I think it would be smart if they did, because now that's been patched and been worked on, and with a new expansion coming out, dropping it on PlayStation will sell the game even further with fresh new eyes, seeing the game in a better place than what it was when it first came out, which I think they need.
it was the same as like Cyberpunk sold a ton when it came out, and obviously had a lot of damage control to do after that. And it took a while, but they finally did get positive. They have a positive view of them again. So
yeah, if you get the big sales but you don't fix it, you pretty much just made away with money, but people don't trust you anymore.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to do that again as easily. And so if Cyberpunk didn't turn that around, which they did, like, the game's fucking awesome now, and I think most people agree with that. There are, not everybody, I would have given them another chance. I liked Cyberpunk when it came out, but I obviously know there's some issues, and that's putting it lightly. There's a lot of people that might not return the next time CD Projekt Red puts out a game.
Yeah.
Because they felt like they got robbed, basically. And that's kind of what it is when you sell like 14 million copies of a game and you're bragging about that, but then people are really fucking upset with the game and you don't fix it. They're not going to forget that. Same thing with Starfield. Same thing, like, you know, with Redfall. Like, these are things they gotta course correct for. Luckily, I don't think with Starfield, like, Bethesda's released games before that people are unhappy with, and they end up turning them around. So I don't think they're not the type of company that will give up on Starfield. But yeah, I think it would be in their interest to release that. I think Bethesda games should be on everything anyway, but that's because they've always been like that. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm just going to be repeating myself at this point, but the presentation, the podcast, or whatever they decided to call it, it was good, and, you know, easy to listen to, which was nice, especially, you know, it'd be really easy for them to, not that they would, because they'd be giving too much away at that point, but they could talk business in a very dry and boring sense for a viewer, because they would be just actually talking business, versus this was more so designed to be also entertainment on top of
I like it.
Info. So
I like that it wasn't like look at the camera and convince people that Xbox is in good hands. It's going to be great. Everything's going to get really good moving forward. I like those more, even though there was plenty of fluff talk and some things were kind of felt like they were set up to be discussed in a certain way, of course. I do like that it did feel like they were having almost like a at the table business conversation that they've already had, but they're doing it in a more rehearsed way this time.
Practiced one, yeah.
Yes. But it felt closer to that, like they are discussing the things they have decided upon basically already, the things they've already discussed, and kind of sharing that with us.
Also, no one was annoying. That was awesome. Too.
Yeah. Well, those are all higher ups in the company, so I don't think they have the capacity to just be.
See some pretty bad higher ups for other companies on stage.
Sure. The dude, Patrick Wilson, I think his name is. No, that's an actor. Something Wilson, or Anderson of EA. I don't remember. He's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't feel performative.
Yeah.
Very corporate jargony, but what do you expect? These guys are all up high at the company.
There's a lot of corporate like lingo stuff going on there
for sure.
too, which
but it was kind of a cool
dorky.
It's hard to call it a podcast because 22 minutes of them solidifying their brand, but it was I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that. It was super thought-provoking. As you guys can tell, I keep going off on these fucking weird rants of like, this is what's going to happen in the future. But that's good. I almost kind of wish, I don't think we would ever get something like this from Sony, but I think it'd be interesting to hear people at Sony talk.
I don't think Sony or Nintendo would do this.
I don't think so either, which is kind of cool that Xbox did do it. So, because I don't feel like my time was wasted watching that, even though a lot of it was like, yep. Oh, that's interesting. Yep, that makes sense. It's good to just have that solid message, especially after last week where everybody's going like, "Wow, fucking Xbox is about to implode." It's good that they came out and went, "Look, these are the facts.
Yeah,
this is where we're at, and yeah, we are changing some things slightly, but it's kind of within our philosophy, which we've talked about a million times. That Microsoft is a software company. Their hardware, of course, is there, but like they're going to lean into what they do best, and that's software." And I heard a lot of things I really liked. When in terms of like their philosophy on connectivity, cross play, cross saves, play it on Xbox and PC because you own that game, so it's on both. Which is telling me they don't care about the hardware aspect; they want access points,
purchase longevity, stuff like that. Yeah,
and all that makes complete sense. And it sounded good to me when they're talking about that. Like it sounds like they do care about, like he said. Corporate people, we want to respect our consumer. Yeah, whatever. I've heard a million times. So when Phil Spencer says it, I do kind of believe him still. I do think he does care. I think it really bothers him when shit doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And so when he's talking about like, we want to respect you as a consumer, as a customer, I do believe him still. And so I do like where their head's at in terms of philosophy. I'm still not like, I'm not buying Xbox's hardware, but I'm playing their stuff. So I am affected by them. Even if I wasn't playing their stuff, I'd be affected by them. Because what they do in the industry is going to affect other people.
I don't play a lot of their stuff, but like, I play a lot of Minecraft, off and on. And I play Forza Horizon when they come out as an example. So like there are things they make that I like. There's also things they make that people love, and I would hate to see them disappear. You know what I mean? Like that's just not. I'm not like, well, I don't play, so you shouldn't enjoy it. Like that's just not the way I feel about anything. I just recognize that I play a lot less types of games than a lot of people do, which is fine. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just we want these people to make good games and stuff. But the key factor of that is, and as long as that's not just fluff talk and stuff, is being respect. There's a respect that needs to be when you make a product for someone. You should have in mind respecting the person who's going to give you their money. Like so. Yep.
Which is a mistake a lot of devs make, is not respecting their customers.
And then turn around and be extra disrespectful in public, which is wild.
Which I'm always like, you're selling people your thing. Your business is surviving because people pay you money. And even if you don't agree with fucking your customers and how they feel about you, shut your fucking mouth.
Also, shout out to the guy, I can't remember the company anymore, but the not PayPal. Palworld dev talking about, because people started making a big deal that players are dipping because they've done everything in the game or whatever, and he's like, play the games, it's fine, come back when we release an update.
Yeah, I didn't read what he said about that, but when I was reading the headlines of him thinking it was lazy for people to attack his game because the numbers are dipping, I don't even need to know what he said necessarily, because I'm like, yeah, it is. Of course it is. All games do that. And there's a stupid mentality where people are like, oh, that game's going to be dead in a month. And it's like, there's too many fucking games, man. All games are going to fucking have their peaks. And as a dev making a game, if you don't fucking understand that, you're going to fail, because MMOs have been dealing with this forever. Games as a service have been dealing with this forever. You have to plan for the peaks, and you have to bring people back, because there's just too much competition. You can't. The philosophy of the last 2 generations were like, put the disc in, keep the disc in. They want to keep you there. They know they can't fucking do that anymore. So they have to bring reasons for you, or they have to have reasons for you to keep coming back. And so, of course, the dude from Palworld's gonna fucking know that. Everybody's gonna know that. And Palworld made its money. It made a shitload of money. Now it's all about supporting the game.
Well, and I just, it's, and obviously it's smaller devs, but even to bring up like bigger devs like Yoshi P from, Square Enix, when they come out and publicly say, hey, go play other games, it's okay. Like, you should be enjoying gaming. You can come back when we release something you want to play. Like, that's like so refreshing because like, instead of them just being like, no, don't look at that, stay here.
Yeah.
They just go, we're in a lull, it's fine, do something else. We do it, you can do it too. Like, so, but a lot of that stuff is mostly just people trying to get engagement on Twitter. But anyways, I'm ranting at this point. It was a good presentation. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to seeing how this year goes for Xbox and gaming in general. So
yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. It already kind of felt weird before going into it, seeing how big the year was for games last year, and this year doesn't feel as big, even though there's plenty of things we're going to be playing.
Slapping us in the face.
Yep. It seems like there's just going to be like a lot of mid games this year, which is great because I like mid games, but cheaper price points, bigger bang. We're already seeing that this year already. It's crazy.
That,
yeah. Well, my time isn't, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Two things I want to touch on before we end this, talking about this presentation. The 4 games we don't know for sure, but we've speculated on or have been speculated on, and I do think those will be the 4 games. I think those make sense. I think for their bigger titles, I know that a lot of people want them to keep their hard exclusives like Bethesda games, but in my brain, it's always been like Bethesda is like for everyone. I think what would be smart for them to do is to release those games even like a month later, which I hate people doing that, but a month later on other consoles. But also, like I said before, release it on Game Pass and then have people spend full price on other things. And so you can either have people make the decision of like come to you Game Pass and get you stuck in that ecosystem, or give you the full amount of money elsewhere. And see where that goes possibly, or do a timed exclusive thing. I don't think a lot of the games Xbox has purchased, or a lot of the devs they've purchased, need to just be hard exclusive. But I do understand they spent the money on them. Why not make some kind of exclusivity? But also, you spend a shitload of money, you got to fucking make that back. It's got to make sense why you bought that. Mm-hmm. And so cutting off revenue sources that these were already having originally doesn't make sense unless you want those exclusives to get people to buy your Xbox, which we're already seeing the numbers. It's not selling as well as PlayStation 5. So it sounds like they're already readjusting their strategy, which makes sense. So,
yeah.
And the games they're choosing make sense as well. Like these smaller games like Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Why wouldn't you put those on other consoles? Mm-hmm. Like, they're not the big console seller games, so make the revenue. And then the online games, if it is Sea of Thieves, which I think it will be, Grounded. Those games will only benefit not only in revenue, but also growing your community. Mm. Those are online-only games. Their long-term success is dependent on who's playing them. And so growing those games, and also the aspect of having those cross-play would just be awesome for people.
And then, like, in the opposite spectrum with Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox this year, they already did one of the tests. Maybe that was a different test. I can't remember. Anyways, that is also just, even though it's technically Square Enix, it's still just more ecosystem and community for online gaming being on multiple platforms. So, like, yeah, it just makes sense. So
yeah. And there's one other thing I was going to say. I heard rumors early on that Blizzard and Xbox were not getting along too well because Blizzard's not this is all hearsay, but it makes sense to me. Activision and Blizzard have been making their games the way they have been for so long and selling them at a premium that I don't think they're super excited to be putting games on Game Pass. So it's kind of interesting to hear that they will be coming to Game Pass, which makes sense because for Xbox, they're trying to add more value to Game Pass. And so hearing that Diablo is coming out on Game Pass makes sense, specifically because I think Blizzard seeing the reception of Diablo 4 might have changed their mind a little bit on maybe we should agree with you guys on putting this on Game Pass. It'll get more people playing our game, which that game needs to have more people playing it because they obviously plan on that game having like many years ahead of it. but also it helps sweeten the deal for Xbox and Game Pass. And if that's going to happen, I mean, everyone's been speculating on this forever, but it would make sense to put Call of Duty on there. People are going to buy Call of Duty. It's guaranteed on everything. But if you put on Game Pass, incentivizes people to choose Game Pass, because paying one fee that slowly, I'm sure they'll raise prices over time, and allows them to possibly get more sales out of you now that you're over on Game Pass, which is the investment. It makes complete sense to put those over there.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering right as well, even when Activision and Blizzard merged, Blizzard was resistant to putting Activision games on Battle.net. So, I mean, they just seem to be kind of resistant to change in general. So
it's just kind of an awkward conversation to have now. Like, you want to have good relations with your devs, but it's an awkward conversation now because Xbox just owns them.
Yeah.
So they could pull
assuming it's true, obviously.
they could pull a Sony and like go like, yeah, Bungie, you can do whatever the hell you want. And then Bungie's like not doing well with Destiny, and Sony's like, we're gonna have to come in and take over because you guys aren't making the money that we agreed upon.
Part of the contract, though. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what their contract is.
True.
So that, you know, I know Xbox is super hands off, sometimes to their own detriment. They don't direct their devs hard enough, but sometimes that's good because it allows creative freedom. But if it does get to a point where like we're not seeing the revenue we need from you, we might have to come in and be hands on with what you're doing because we need you to make money.
Yeah.
Because it is a business at the end of the day. We're seeing that with Sony.
Yeah.
Sucks to hear, but like, yeah, fucking who's excited about Destiny? Not a whole lot of people. So it kind of makes sense, and it kind of sucks because like Sony's not Bungie. Sony didn't create fucking all the things Bungie's made, so like Sony could fuck it up. But I get it from their business perspective. They're like, look, dude, like you're not pulling your side of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to do that. So we have to come in and try to figure this out, which makes shitty relationships in your company, which inevitably could lead to bad products because your devs are, you know, not happy.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, it's a whole ecosystem of balance. So it's really interesting to hear that'll be coming out to Game Pass, because I feel like they probably didn't want that, but we'll see how it goes. I'll be curious to see. It kind of got me slightly interested in like getting Game Pass and seeing where Diablo's at now, because I don't want to buy Diablo 4, but after the expansion comes out, I might be curious to try it. So, and that would be a good option for me to try it, not have to invest in it. That's how I played Starfield. I didn't fucking buy Starfield.
Yeah, neither. I also didn't play for very long either, but
I beat it, but I beat it in like 19 hours. So
yeah, I tried playing it and just was quite literally not having fun. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to waste my time doing something I'm just not enjoying. So yeah. And Game Pass is a weird one for me anyways, because like I've had it multiple times now, and I always like install a bunch of stuff, but then I never turn it back on after the initial time for the purpose I did it, because I'm just so wired at this point to go straight to Steam to play my games. The only exception to that is Final Fantasy 14.
yeah.
So
he actually touched on that, which I thought was really interesting. He talked about how, I forgot what the topic was, but he said there's two major factors, and one of them was where's the rest of your stuff at, basically.
people in library.
Yeah, and so in library is fucking huge, because that's why nobody can break into. There's all these people before this happened. They were speculating. So many people were telling me that Xbox is going to abandon hardware and go into competition against Steam, and I was like, good fucking luck, dude. Like, are you crazy? Like,
Epic's been dumping money into that.
They got the money to dump, but they can't do it. Like, they're gonna be fine because Fortnite, and Epic Store is fine. It's not as good as Steam though. But my library's not there. My friend list isn't there. It could be if Steam fucked up somehow, but they haven't. Steam's been solid forever, and they haven't fucked their customer base. We're all invested on Steam. Even if I like Epic enough, my investment's there. I got 600 some fucking games on Steam. I got all this progress on Steam. All my saves and shit are there. Like, it doesn't make sense to abandon that for another platform. Xbox isn't going to do that either. But Xbox has one, and they're talking about it. They recognize your library. If there's multiple access points. I can access Xbox from PC, their console, my phone, everything. All those avenues allow me to slowly integrate into their library. And so I might buy another thing there. I might buy another thing there. And if there's less investment because of Game Pass, I just have their library available. I think it's a better avenue than Epic can offer.
Yeah.
And I think they know that.
Yeah, and I think for most people, I think Game Pass is just a great thing overall, on PC and on console. I'm just a weird person in that regard where like I hate opening the Xbox app on PC. I just don't even want to do it.
Yeah, I'm not as bad as you are, but I have bought games on Game Pass, and I have not very many, but I have, and then I've used Game Pass to try out games, basically like rentals. But I'm so invested in Steam that I don't think Game Pass could ever pull me from it.
Yeah.
So, but I do use it. It's still like a service that I use. So that I'm sure they got a category of that kind of customer
I'm sure.
set up. They know that I'll come back and forth. But yeah, library is everything. I'm invested in Steam. It's just like, you play WoW, you're going to go try out other modes, but you're going to come back to WoW if you've been playing for 10 years because you've just invested so much into it. Steam, I've invested literally money and time into. So it's going to be hard to pull me away from that. But if you have a product I can only play, come back to exclusives over on your thing, just like Epic every once in a while gets a sale from me because they fucking either take a game from Steam, which I hate when they do that, or they release a game you can only get on Epic. They get my money.
Yeah.
It's the only way they can get my money. Is
Hasn't
exclusives.
worked on me yet, but
Yeah, but it's worked on me. So
yeah, no, for sure. I'm sure it's worked on plenty of people.
like Alan Wake 2. It might come out in something later on, but Epic invested money in Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
And they only sold it there, and that's where I played it because I had to play it.
And it's interesting too because there have been examples of games coming out on Epic, and I went, okay, well, is it on PlayStation? And then I played over there instead, which is funny because I prefer to play on PC, and I could just use Epic's launcher, but my brain immediately goes, I'll just play it on PlayStation then.
Yeah.
So
Just different customers.
yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, all around, I think this is a really good conversation. I'm glad they're super transparent. I think it was also well conveyed for most people to understand what their strategy is moving forward. I don't think they have abandoned any of their principles. They're just slightly being a little more malleable in how they're going about their business moving forward. It does sound like they are not making the profits they want to, not at detriment, but they are looking to grow. They said it themselves because they are looking at the industry and people are losing jobs, and they've had to make that decision as well as everyone has. And I think they're trying to circumvent that and also just grow. So it makes sense that they're doing that, and honestly, it just sounds like this is a test run. Doesn't sound like it's like we're desperate. We got to fucking start releasing our games and everything. It sounds like they're like, well, we'll see how it goes. If we start making a bunch of money, then yeah, I sure as fuck you're gonna see other Xbox games getting put on everything.
I'm kind of bummed out that like none of the 4 games are like interesting to me, just because like I would be more than happy to like, just buy, like support that idea. Like,
Yeah, but you can already play their games on PC though.
I can. I'm just saying in general, like, if I'm definitely a firm believer of like investing in things where you believe in it type of thing.
Sure.
Those 4 games just don't do it for me. So
You should play Hi-Fi Rush. I feel like you'll like it.
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, those 4 games make sense though. Those seem
do.
like really good test trial games to try this on. So, and I swear, like if it does well, we'll see Halo on other platforms. Halo's in a weird spot anyway too. It's not like being super celebrated right now. So I think there's wiggle room for that. And Halo, Gears of War, and Forza were the 3 biggest games I was hearing on TikTok people wanted on PlayStation. So that was interesting.
I forgot Gears exists.
Yeah, well, people want it. So but yeah, good presentation. I enjoyed it, and obviously create a lot of conversation for us. So anything else?
No.
Let us know in the comments your thoughts on everything that was said here. What were your biggest takeaways? What do you think about Xbox as a brand and their future plans? Where do you think it's going? What do you think about their consoles that have been rumored and leaked, kind of? And what games would you like to see on PlayStation? How do you feel about that whole situation? And yeah, tell me everything that's on your mind when it comes to everything that we just talked about and we watched in the comments below. And is there something that they talked about that we didn't really touch on? I feel like that'd be almost impossible, but that you wanted to hear more about or you want to tell us about, let us know. All right, I'm going to make this quick, but we got comments from past episodes we're going to be reading. If you want your comment read for sure, type in hashtag STLG. And yeah, so we got some comments on our Silent Hill 2 remake. Oh, this is me talking about what I think Konami got wrong with the Silent Hill 2 remake, which I have been validated in my concerns of that trailer. Not doing it for me because the president of Bloober team, who's making the Silent Hill 2 remake, even said he watched the trailer. He blamed Konami for making that trailer. He said they didn't make it, which I thought was kind of wild. He threw them under the bus. He said it's not indicative of their game. And he also agreed that the combat looked stiff and wood-like. And he jokingly said that he also typed some of those criticisms in the comments. So he's on my side when it comes to that trailer. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. But anyway, a couple comments we got from Troy B saying, the first person I've seen that mentions that the Team Silent era was a unique thing. I have been so vocal about this for years, that Silent Hill 1 through 4 is a game that you cannot replicate. You can only try to emulate, and you're probably going to get it wrong because those games are of a time and era that I don't think can be replicated. It's right place, right time, right people, and right influences. And now there is this thing that is Silent Hill that people all love so much that people are like, well, what is Silent Hill? Oh, it's psychological, it's fog, and it's rust. And a lot of things that were only invented in the movie we now think is indicative of Silent Hill, but there's nothing that they're not diving deeper into what made those games special. They're just looking at the surface level visuals and going like, okay, just match that, but we're gonna write like shit shallow stories, try to evolve the fucking combat in bad ways. I do not think we will ever get Silent Hills as loved as 1 through 4. And a lot of people are like, well, it's, they're older games, newer games aren't going to be like that. And it's like, if you can't reach that kind of admiration and love that people have for those original games, I mean, why are we even chasing after that then? Like, for the money, you're trying to sell it based off the name. I get it, but when people want to have like these honest conversations about like, well, this is where the brand's going. Well, the brand's not as good as it used to be then, so fucking make something else. But they're not going to do that because Silent Hill, the name, will sell. So even if a new Silent Hill comes out and it's good, I do not think it'll ever be as loved as the original Silent Hills because the minds aren't in the place anymore of trying to invent some new fucking game. They're just trying to cash in on what worked before. So even if you bring people back, a couple people back who had worked on the prior games, people I respect, like Akira Yamaoka and the director and the art, I forgot his name, the art designer, they haven't worked on Silent Hill in fucking years. So they're just it's like bringing NSYNC back together and fucking, they're all old and fucking dancing and shit. It's like you're reliving your childhood, but it's also kind of weird. Like,
aren't they doing that though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It just won't be the same. So that's why I was kind of excited I was very excited for Hideo Kojima to reinvent and create his own Silent Hill, which he fucking would have. He was not trying to emulate Silent Hill or with PT.
Yeah.
That was a proof of concept, but like Silent Hills was going to be a Hideo Kojima game that was influenced by Silent Hill, but his own thing. That's what you got to do. You got to make your own fucking thing. Stop trying to emulate it. When I played the short message, it just fucking screamed like, okay, make it look like Silent Hill, but we're going to tell like a very modern story about social media. It's like, that might work for kids. I don't know, man. It's just so shallow and on the nose. Like, you're just like explaining exactly the message you want us to fucking get in like an hour. Like, that's not Silent Hill. It never has been. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Not really.
All right. Thank you for the comment. Snake Eater says it's the fast-paced editing and music that's really throwing people off. Think back to the original announcement trailer. That one was a lot of walking in environments. This time they wanted a demonstration of the combat, so it's going to be more fast-paced with exciting music. I think you're onto something a little bit. It does sound like you're probably a little more positive on it than I am, which I respect. I'm not saying you're wrong. I do think it was more fast-paced, but I think it was really sloppy. Like, if you look at the editing, I don't think it was done very well. I think the music, the way it was placed, was really dorky as well. Also, what we saw in that trailer, even the president of Bloober agrees, the combat looked very stiff and wooden. I also, as like an audio nerd, thought the sound effects were really cheap and thin sounding. So I really hope that they can have some fucking dignity and self-pride enough to up that. And yeah, in a trailer where you're showcasing combat and it doesn't look that great to a lot of people, I know some people are okay with it. I don't think they did a good job. So, and if Konami did make that kind of worries me, because it means that Konami has completely lost touch with what Silent Hill was in the first place. Because it was nothing like a Silent Hill trailer has ever been. That was like that whole trailer reminded me of like you said, their original trailer kind of showed off environments, which I thought was a much more compelling trailer. This trailer seemed like, hey, you guys remember that part in Silent Hill 2 where you go from one of the apartments to the other one, you cross the alleyway? Here it is. Hey, you guys remember fucking Pyramid Head, which is the only thing anyone ever talks about. Here, he's hinted at the end. Hey, also, you guys been asked about the combat. Well, here it is. Not that impressive looking, but here it is. It just felt really fucking sloppy. Like, whoever made that trailer is handed to somebody else. Even if the game isn't great, and I don't know if it will be or not, but even if it's not great, somebody could have made I would have made a better trailer. Guaranteed. I know I could. So, we need a better trailer. Thank you for the comment. I assume you have nothing to say on that.
Yeah, this topic's gonna be rough for me because I just don't have any investment.
Yeah, Tony AC Gaming. I don't know the remake going to do it for me. I don't know either. I'm hoping. People hear me criticize it, and it's like they don't realize I fucking love Silent Hill. Like, it's my second favorite series of all time, following Metal Gear Solid. I have deep love for the series. There's nobody who wants a new Silent Hill to be amazing or a remake to be amazing more than me. But I also am realistic, and I'm not going to have false hope, and I know where Konami's at, and it's just not likely that it's going to be amazing. But I do want it to be, even if it's fucking fun, that's all I can ask for. I don't expect it to be as good as the original game. But if it's a fun game, I'll play it. It'll be neat to see somebody else's interpretation of a game I love. As long as it's fucking fun, don't insult me. Make a good game. Respect the fucking property that you're making a game off of. Otherwise, don't touch it. So, and with Bloober Team, I do feel like they love the game. Their games are heavily inspired by Silent Hill. I don't know if they are a dev that's strong enough to make the game. I really think they bit off more than they can chew, but I would love to be proved wrong. I want them to wow me. I just don't think they will. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to do it for me either. Thank you for the comment. Let's see. Colossus says, I share your same doubts about Bloober. I consider them a mediocre team, which has been entrusted with a task that is far too complex. Preach. I agree with you. Then after seeing the combat trailer, I noticed that Konami doesn't know how to advertise their titles anymore. Agreed. Because the editing is terrible. Agreed. And it gives a terrible image of the title. A big shame. I don't have much to add to that. I agree with you 100%. Thank you for the comment. And then, what was that? Phil Halo?
Yeah.
Phil Halo says the combat and QuickTime events makes me very concerned for the remake. Agreed. The atmosphere wasn't quite there either. Agreed. Even though I think it's the strongest thing about the game, it seems off. Two things real quick. I want to mention that I finally have quantified that people keep asking me, well, what's wrong with it? You play the original game. Obviously, the graphics aren't as good, but like, the back of your character is a lot darker. The rooms seem less illuminated. In this game, the rooms are so bright. Like, there's nothing oppressive about your environment. It doesn't feel fucking scary. And then the fog obviously is denser in the older games because they're saving memory. they don't want to show you the rest of the map. And even though I do think the new fog effects look really good, like the way they travel and move around the map, it seems thinner. So like, I feel like you could make it dense and still have those cool effects while still maintaining, you know, and more. You could have like more variable areas too, where sometimes the fog is less thick in other areas. But every video I watch, it just seems like so open and fucking empty, and I don't know. It just doesn't have the same oppressive feeling that the original games had. Obviously, that was because of technical limitations, but that is an iconic visual style of Silent Hill. And
even regardless of it being technical limitations, you know, you could argue that the game was made in that environment, in those conditions, or whatever, and the product that you got, that's still part of the claustrophobic feel of playing a horror game and stuff like that of that generation. I think the game exists that way, regardless of if it could have been made better or not. That's the feel still.
Well, we got 4 games, and even games after that sucked, but they still followed that visual style because it became the visual style, even if the original reason they did it was for that reason. That, just like, it sounds weird, but like Tribes is known for skiing. Mm-hmm. That was a fucking glitch in the original game, but it became the identity of the game. Same thing with the fucking fog in this.
In Warframe, the weird like slide thing people used to do a lot.
They made that.
That was not intentional.
Yeah.
And then when they did an overhaul, they were like, we have to keep the mobility thing. It was basically launching. And now you can just launch.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game now.
Yeah. So people got to really drop the like, well, the only reason to do that is this. It doesn't matter because it just became fucking part of the game.
The reason's irrelevant.
Yeah.
The result is the result.
If anything, I think it's impressive that something so iconic was created as a way to solve a problem. Continuing, Phil Halo says, to be honest, it feels like the game should be very early development stage, not nearly complete. I agree. That was another thing too. When I've criticized the game and people have not liked them criticizing what I'm seeing, the game could still be in early development. I mean, I know it's supposed to come out this year, but like what we saw could be not representative of the modern build. I don't think that's the case. People keep telling me that, like, oh, what they showed was early build. I'm like, yeah, they said that for fucking Battlefield 2046 too. The game came out exactly how they showed it. Or no, the beta. They're like, oh, it was a 6-month build, and then the game came out as exactly the same. I'm like, they're telling you that. They want you to buy the game. They have to sell you confidence. The only
time I've seen that to be like an actual factor is like,
it happens.
Example, but like Final Fantasy 16, they showed off some of it, and then like pretty shortly afterwards, it was like immediately better looking. I was like, oh, okay.
It's real. I mean, of course, there's different stages of development, but I do think it's also a fucking huge excuse people use when people see something and go, "What the fuck was that?" And you're like, that was early development. Don't judge it yet." And then they sell it anyway because they don't want to ruin your confidence in buying the game.
Right.
It's a fucking business. They have to do shit like that. Anyway, I do agree though. Even if the game does come out like this, what I'm seeing looks like early development. So when people are thinking I'm just like throwing the game out, I'm like, no, I want that to be better. I'm not saying it's trash. I'm saying those animations can be improved. That sound quality can be improved. That fog could be improved. That lighting could be improved. These are all things that you can still fix. Especially like the swinging animation, all the shit. And then people want to fucking compare it to the older games. Like, well, the older games are much better. I'm like, it's a newer game. It's supposed to be better. Why are you comparing it to that?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I agree. All right. Thank you, everybody who commented on this video. Moving on to the next one. Last one was our review of Baldur's Gate 3, which we both like a lot. So check that out if you want to hear us gush for an hour about Baldur's Gate 3. We got a comment from Psycho Scream saying, Temtem, finally, lol. Psycho Scream is a regular here, and he has been watching the constant progression of us saying that Temtem is indeed on our list, but never getting pulled, and has finally been pulled, and I share the exact same sentiment.
Yeah.
is a game that I've refused to take off the list because I'm like, eventually we're going to play that and I'm going to want to play it because it's been out for a long time. We played it barely and I'd like to see where it's at. And it finally happened. So, yeah, finally. I agree with you. I haven't even played it yet.
I have twice.
Although you've played it, and I will play it, obviously, before the end of the month. This weekend. This weekend is where I'm going to be putting time into all that shit. But also I got other games I want to play. So, yeah. I think that's everything.
That's everything.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this long discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Comment below. And
If you're still here.
yeah. Thank you, Chevy, for joining me. And yeah, thank you guys. I've been Seth. This has been Chevy. And until the next episode, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.